Chapter 1677 Anna's Power. Chapter 1677 Anna's Power. Chapter 1677 Anna's Power. Shifeng was dazed for a long moment after seeing Anna's basic attributes. If other players saw Anna's statistics, they'd be surprised by how high the values were at most, but Shifeng knew the implication these attributes had. A normal level 80, Tier 2 magical class NPC would only have around 3,600 intelligence, which was already far more than what magical class players would have at level 80, Tier 2. Even if a level 80 player were fully geared in epic equipment, they wouldn't have such a high attribute since every personal guard used epic weapons and equipment. Even the strongest magical class personal guard Shifeng had heard of in the past had only commanded 4,200 intelligence after reaching level 80, Tier 2. Although there was only a 600-point difference, the difference in magic damage and maximum mana would be massive. In God's domain, the power of a spell heavily depended on the caster's intelligence. For example, if a Tier 1 player and a Tier 6 player cast the same Tier 1 spell, the power difference would be like heaven and earth. The outcome was due to the difference in their attributes. Meanwhile, high-tiered spells and skills only allowed one to display more of their raw power. Previously, Anna's intelligence had only risen to 4,346, and she had barely been able to contend with ordinary great lords of the same level in terms of raw magic damage. However, if she used the powerful skills in her arsenal, she could have easily overwhelmed a great lord of the same level. Now, Anna's intelligence had risen to 5,031 points. With such high intelligence, she could overwhelm great lords with ordinary Tier 2 spells. Now, I won't have to worry about needing sufficient help in the darkness world. Looking at Anna, Shifeng could tell that she could easily stomp out great lords of the same level. Aside from the improvements they granted players and NPCs, mutated darkness energy crystals would force the darkness world to recognize their users. With this recognition, the world would no longer consider them an intruder and suppress them. This was why dark players desired mutated darkness energy crystals. Although dark players were members of the dark forces and contained a small amount of power of darkness within, the darkness world still considered them trespassers. The world would still suppress them, although the suppression wouldn't be as severe due to the power of darkness they contained. However, if they absorbed a mutated darkness energy crystal, they could proceed without any suppression. They could then explore the darkness world as if they were in their element. Now that Anna had absorbed the mutated darkness energy crystal, she, too, had been recognized by the darkness world. The world would accept her as one of its own, and she'd be able to exhibit all of her strength. Shifeng then began his search for the next group of monsters. Although resources within the darkness world were abundant, this world didn't have as many monsters as the continent of God's domain. If the darkness world's monsters moved in large groups as they did on the continent of God's domain, players would have no hope of surviving here. Now that Shifeng had the powerful support Anna offered, hunting down monsters like the dark scorpions was a waste of time. He needed to find stronger monsters to allow Anna to display her full potential. After searching for around 30 minutes, Shifeng finally found a pack of two-headed dark wolves resting at the foot of a mountain. There were 12 dark wolves in total, including 1 Grand Lord and 11 Lords. The Lord-ranked wolves were around 4 meters tall, while the Grand Lord was double that size. Aside from looking like a miniature mountain, the Grand Lord-ranked dark wolf gave off an intense pressure. Two-headed dark wolf, dark creature, Lord. Level 67. HP 21,000,000,021,000,000. Two-headed dark wolf king, dark creature, Grand Lord. Level 70. HP 95,000,000,095,000,000. Challenging a Grand Lord in the darkness world was very dangerous, but even if Shifeng weren't a match for the monster, he was confident that he could retreat safely if needed. If he weren't, and he settled for weaker monsters, he wouldn't be able to acquire then 100 darkness stones he needed even after 10 solid days of grinding. The darkness world's Grand Lords had a chance of dropping complete darkness stones. On the other hand, only mythic rank or above darkness-type monsters would drop the stones on the God's domain continent. That being said, Grand Lords in this world had a slightly lower chance of dropping them. However, he could use Icarus's heart to compensate for the low drop rate. As long as the Grand Lords had a chance of dropping the stones, it was worth a try. Shifeng had only planned to challenge Grand Lords after he could summon 3 demons with the Bible of Darkness. He'd also be able to use another primordial scroll in 2 hours. With 5 Tier 3 monsters and a healer, he had a considerably good chance of defeating the Grand Lords. At worst, he could always suppress his opponents with the Ring of Gospel. But now that he had a monster of a personal guard like Anna, there was no need to wait. "All right, let's begin," Shifeng commanded once everyone was in position. Anna instantly began to write divine runes, chanting an incantation at the same time. A short moment later, 10 level 80 Lord-ranked Rock Guardians formed before Anna. A level 80 Great Lord-ranked Golden Giant had joined them. Due to the significant boost to Anna's intelligence, her summoned creatures had also received a boost to their attributes. The summoned creatures were 15% stronger than they had been previously, but Anna wasn't done yet. Following which, she cast Magic Strengthening, further increasing the Rock Guardians and Golden Giant's basic attributes. In the blink of an eye, Shifeng had a powerful monster army. As the 11 summoned creatures prepared to charge, the old man beside Shifeng cast enhancement buffs on them as well, strengthening the summoned creatures even further. "Go!" Shifeng commanded once the preparations were complete. The Golden Giant and Blood Demon led the charge with the 10 Rock Guardians closely behind them. When the group of summoned creatures came within 200 yards of the Dark Wolf pack, the Dark Wolves howled with anger. The 2-headed Dark Wolf King stood and glared at the Golden Giant and Blood Demon. Emanating a low growl, it pushed its paws against the ground and shot forward. The Dark Wolf King was as fast as lightning, leaving a trail of afterimages and powerful gales of wind. The Dark Wolf King arrived before the Golden Giant almost instantly, smacking the Great Lord with one of its front paws. Peng! Under Anna's control, the Golden Giant raised its arms to protect itself. When the Dark Wolf King's paw collided with the Golden Giant's arms, the ground beneath the summoned Great Lord cracked and shattered, and the Golden Giant sunk into the ground. The Dark Wolf King's strength was higher than Shifeng had expected, and despite blocking the attack, the Golden Giant had lost over 100,000 HP. Realizing that its first attack had failed to get rid of its target, the Dark Wolf King turned and swiped its tail at the Golden Giant. As the Wolf King's bushy tail moved, power of darkness gathered around it, turning the harmless-looking tail into a sharp blade that sliced at the Golden Giant. Tier 2 skill, Darkness Blade. When the attack landed, the impact sent the Golden Giant flying over 20 yards back. Following which, a damage of over -2,300,000 appeared above the Golden Giant's head. The Dark Wolf King's strength was on an entirely different level than the Grand Lords on God's Domain's continent. Fortunately, although the 2 attacks dealt a lot of damage, the Golden Giant had 55 million HP. Losing a little over 2 million HP was nothing. With the primordial heroic spirit healing it from a safe distance, the Golden Giant could definitely withstand the Dark Wolf King's attacks. In contrast, the Blood Demon and 10 Rock Giants completely overwhelmed the 11 2-headed Dark Wolves that had followed their alpha. Even without any healing, the Rock Giants could dominate the Dark Wolves in a one-on-one fight. Furthermore, they had the help of the Tier 3 Blood Demon. Naturally, Anna didn't sit idle. After becoming a yin-yang saint, she had gained more than just summoning skills. She now had powerful attack spells in her arsenal. Anna cast Holy Light Spear, a Tier 2 light-type spell, launching 18 holy spears at the Dark Wolf pack. Each spear carried nearly as much strength as a Tier 3 Great Lord of the same level. Moreover, the holy spears dealt an additional 50% damage to dark creatures. When the holy spears found their marks, the Dark Wolves cried in agony as damages of over -400,000 appeared above their heads. In less than 10 minutes, Shifeng's team had wiped out the 11 Lord-ranked 2-headed Dark Wolves, the creatures decorating the ground with loot upon their deaths. Now, only the 2-headed Dark Wolf King remained, still fighting the Golden Giant. However, the Golden Giant looked miserable. Despite the heroic spirit's constant healing, the Great Lord's HP continued to decrease. Shifeng had even been forced to activate Life Domain halfway through the battle to keep the summoned creature standing. Once the 11 Lord-ranked Dark Wolves had been dealt with, Anna began to chant a long incantation, writing many lines of divine runes in the air before her. Suddenly, a gigantic, silver, twofold magic array appeared beneath Anna's feet. In response, a towering pillar of light rose from the ground beneath the Dark Wolf King's feet, enveloping the boss. Countless chains then appeared from the void and bound the lupine Grand Lord. Despite the Dark Wolf King's desperate struggle, it couldn't break free. A moment later, the Dark Wolf King released a pained wail as its massive body began to shrink. Tier 3 Spell, Chains of Light. Chapter 1678, Power to Transcend Tears. Chapter 1678, Power to Transcend Tears. Chapter 1678, Power to Transcend Tears. She's capable of using spells higher than her tier. Shifeng was at a loss as he stared at the towering light pillar. Is this the power of a peak class? In God's domain, whether they be players, NPCs, or monsters, all existences could generally only learn and use skills or spells at their tier or lower. The strongest skills and spells they could use were taboo skills and curses. Yet, Anna had just cast a bona fide tier 3 spell despite only being tier 2 herself. Shifeng had never heard of anything like this before. Of course, one reason for his ignorance was that he had only ever heard of personal guards obtaining advanced classes. Even after 10 years in God's domain, he had never heard of a personal guard acquiring a peak class as Anna had. Due to the effects of chains of light, the two-headed Dark Wolf King, which had been over 9 meters tall, had shrunk to 6 meters in height. The chains around its form also greatly limited its movement. This allowed the Golden Giant to block every one of the Grand Lord's attacks. Now, the Golden Giant only lost around 80,000 HP after it received one of the Dark Wolf King's attacks. It was clear that the Dark Wolf King's strength had decreased considerably. After the decrease, it was only as powerful as an ordinary Grand Lord on the continent of God's domain. The heroic spirit's healing was now more than enough to keep the Golden Giant alive. After Anna had cast Chains of Light, she proceeded to write another series of divine runes. Under Anna's control, the 10 rock guardians surrounded the Dark Wolf King. The rock giants then transformed into 10 stone pillars, and after Anna finished over 24 lines of divine runes, she lightly tapped the butt of her staff against the ground. Golden divine runes began to surface on the 10 stone pillars, releasing arcs of golden electricity that lined the pillars and created a magic barrier around the Dark Wolf King. The Dark Wolf King's basic attributes began to decrease rapidly. The Chains of Light had merely weakened the Dark Wolf King's strength and mobility, but the golden magic barrier suppressed all aspects of the boss. In the blink of an eye, the Dark Wolf King's maximum HP had fallen by 30%. This magic barrier could even rival a top-tier intermediate magic array. After seeing this, Shifeng finally understood why there was such a huge difference between the strength of NPCs' classes. It wasn't just a matter of higher basic attributes, but a matter of superior spells and skills. Even without the Blood Demon and Heroic Spirit, Shifeng was confident he could defeat a level 70 Grand Lord with Anna's help alone. If the party had a strong healer, Anna could even whittle down the Dark Wolf King without too much exertion. This will save me plenty of primordial scrolls. As Shifeng watched the two-headed Dark Wolf King, whose attributes had already fallen below a Grand Lord standard, he realized that he wouldn't have to rely on primordial scrolls to grind in the darkness world anymore. The heroic spirits players summoned with primordial scrolls could only exist for 12 hours. Meanwhile, Shifeng only had 12 of these scrolls. Even if he used them efficiently, they would only last him for several days. With Anna's help, though, he could grind in the darkness world for much longer. Due to the magic barrier, the Golden Giant had a much easier time dealing with the Dark Wolf King. The Great Lord even began to trade blows with the Grand Lord, increasing the party's overall DPS. After including the Blood Demon, Anna, and Shifeng's attacks, the Dark Wolf King's HP began to deplete steadily. Although the Grand Lord's battle recovery and high defense slowed their progress, it was only a matter of time before the Dark Wolf King died. 90%, 85%, 80%. When the two-headed Dark Wolf King's HP fell to 20%, it released a sudden, angry howl. Its two-headed body then split down the middle, each head taking on its own form. Division. Shifeng's expression darkened when he saw the two Dark Wolf Kings. Bosses that had grasped doppelganger skills in God's domain were extremely difficult to defeat. Unfortunately, slaying bosses that had grasped division skills was even harder. With doppelganger skills, a boss's main body and its doppelganger shared HP. If either form were killed, regardless of whether or not players slew the main body, both would die. However, bosses with division skills were a different story. Each copy had its own, independent HP. This essentially meant that players had to face two bosses simultaneously. Moreover, when a boss used a division skill, all debuffs on the boss would be removed. In the next moment, the chains of light originally binding the two-headed Dark Wolf King vanished. The two Dark Wolf Kings then revealed a sinister grin as they looked at Shifeng's group, their expressions seemingly saying, "You're dead meat now." The two Dark Wolf Kings immediately pounced on the Golden Giant and the Blood Demon. Gathering power of darkness in their paws, they smacked their respective targets. Both the Golden Giant and the Blood Demon attempted to block the incoming attacks, but just as they seemed to succeed, the Dark Wolf King's paws transformed into shadows, piercing the elemental and demon's defenses. The attacks struck their targets, and both the Golden Giant and the Blood Demon were thrown over 20 yards away, a damage exceeding -2 million appearing above each of their heads. Before the two summoned creatures could regain their footing, the two Dark Wolf Kings pounced again, launching the same attacks. The prior scene replayed, with the Golden Giant and the Blood Demon flying backward and losing over 2 million HP each. As expected of a Grand Lord in the Darkness world. In addition to a division skill, it has an unblockable offensive skill. This boss could even annihilate a 20-man team of Tier 2 experts of the same level. Despite realizing the seriousness of the summoned creature's situation, Shifeng remained unfazed. Instead, he calmly told Anna, "Let's see what you've got." Nodding, Anna's aura abruptly changed. The dark purple mark on her forehead disappeared, transforming into runes that covered her body. After Anna obtained a peak class, she had learned 2 over-tier spells and 1 epic-ranked skill. Although she had displayed the Tier 3 spell, Chains of Light, she had yet to reveal her other over-tier spell and epic skill. The move Anna had just used was none other than the epic skill, Yin-Yang Power. Not only did Anna's basic attributes soar under the skill's power, but the strength of her light and darkness type skills and spells would also rise by 1 tier, to a maximum of Tier 4. This was the Berserk skill unique to peak legacies. Anna's Tier 2 spells and skills already had the power to rival Tier 3 attacks, but now her attacks were even more powerful than a Grand Lord's of the same level. Furthermore, while Yin-Yang Power was in effect, all of her spells and skills would increase by 1 tier. It was by no means an exaggeration to consider Anna a level 80, Tier 3 NPC. Anna proceeded to cast the Tier 2 spell, Holy Light Spear once more, but unlike her previous use, the number of holy spears she summoned had doubled to 36. Moreover, each spear carried more power than before. Under Anna's control, the holy spears transformed into streaks of white light that bombarded the two Dark Wolf Kings. While the two Dark Wolf Kings happily bullied the Golden Giant and Blood Demon, the holy spears appeared before them. Even with the Dark Wolf Kings' incredible reaction speeds, they only blocked half of the incoming spears, the rest of the shining weapons found their marks. When the holy spears met the Dark Wolf King's tough fur, the two Grand Lords howled in pain. Each spear dealt over -600,000 damage. By the time the two Dark Wolf Kings had recovered from the holy spear's bombardment, Anna had finished casting the Tier 2 spell, Feathers of Light. Suddenly, countless white, immaculate feathers descended from the sky, decorating the area around the two Grand Lords. Anna, who stood outside of the rock giant's magic barrier, grabbed at a feather that had fallen before her. She then gave the feather a gentle pinch. Boom! 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 The hundreds of immaculate feathers surrounding the two Dark Wolf Kings began to explode, one after another. Although each feather's explosion was not particularly powerful and only devoured a few tens of thousands of the Grand Lord's HPs, the total accumulated damage was frightening. After a short moment, the two Dark Wolf Kings, who had only held on by a small amount of HP, fell to Anna's spell. Anna had killed the two Dark Wolf Kings so quickly that Shifeng hadn't even had enough time to use Divine Providence and land the finishing blow. Chapter 1679 Ancient Rock Cities Shocking Transformation. Chapter 1679 Ancient Rock Cities Shocking Transformation. Chapter 1679 Ancient Rock Cities Shocking Transformation. Seeing the corpses of the divided two-headed Dark Wolf King reaffirmed Anna's strength for Shifeng. Although light-type spells had striking effects against dark creatures, they shouldn't allow a level 80, Tier 2 NPC to overwhelm the two-headed Dark Wolf King to this extent. Not even ordinary Tier 3 NPCs of the same level were capable of such a feat. The only downside to Anna's yin-yang power was its 100-second duration and a long 6-hour cooldown. If she could use this berserk skill frequently, she could massacre one level 70 Grand Lord after another. When the two-headed Dark Wolf King had died, it had dropped a pile of loot before them. It had also granted both Shifeng and Anna a large amount of EXP. Although Shifeng's EXP gain in the Darkness world had been drastically reduced, his experience bar still increased by a noticeable amount. As for Anna, although her EXP gain was no longer affected, the EXP she had gained from killing the level 72-headed Dark Wolf King was insignificant compared to how much she needed to level up since she had already reached level 80. As expected of one of the Darkness world's Grand Lords. Its loot is way better than an ordinary Grand Lord's. Shifeng couldn't help his surprise as he gazed at the items before him. Past level 50, Grand Lords generally only dropped 10 or so items. Moreover, the majority of the loot would even be materials, and one would be lucky if they got 3 or 4 pieces of equipment, even the best of which would be secret silver rank. However, the two-headed Dark Wolf King had dropped over 20 items. Although the majority of the loot was still materials, the boss had dropped 5 pieces of equipment. 3 of the pieces were level 60 secret silver equipment, including 1 pair of boots belonging to the level 60 secret silver ranked Dark Devourer set. The last 2 pieces were level 60 fine gold equipment, one of which was a set piece for the level 60 fine gold ranked Fantasy Demon set. Although the Fantasy Demon set was only a 6-piece set, players could equip the set at level 55 instead of level 60 once they had gathered 4 pieces. If the full set were given to a level 55 magical class player, that player would wipe the floor with other magical class players of the same level. Only players with multiple epic weapons and equipment would likely be able to contend with them. 2 master-ranked potions had also dropped. Among them, one was the Mana Awakening Potion. It was a rare berserk potion that increased players' spell effects by 200% for 30 seconds. The other potion was a resuscitation potion. If players consumed the potion after resurrecting, they could recover a portion of the lost EXP. These 2 potions had easily sold for over 100 gold each on the market in the past. In addition, the two-headed Dark Wolf King had dropped a Darkness Stone and 3 Darkness Stone fragments. However, what surprised Shifeng most was a translucent crystal ball. The Detection Crystal Ball. This was a top-tier item for outdoor explorations. It was particularly useful at night, when visibility was poor. The Detection Crystal Ball could be used to detect all monsters within a certain range, which was determined by the Detection Crystal Ball's rank. A Bronze Detection Crystal Ball had a range of 500 yards, while mysterious iron-ranked crystal balls could detect enemies within 700 yards, and secret silver-ranked ones could reach 1,000 yards. It allowed players to avoid monster ambushes. The Detection Crystal Ball the Wolf King had dropped was fine gold rank, with a range of 1,500 yards. Not only could this item's detection reach further than the Blood Demon's vision, but it could also spot every monster within that range. It did not matter even if the monsters were camouflaged or hidden behind terrain. Unfortunately, it did cost 1 magic crystal to operate per hour. Ordinary players might not be willing to pay this price, but it wasn't an issue for Shifeng, and it would be of great help as he explored the Darkness world. There weren't as many monsters in the Darkness world as there were on the continent of God's domain, making them troublesome to find. Since Shifeng was looking for specific targets, his hunt was even more time-consuming. With the Detection Crystal Ball, however, he could save plenty of time and avoid unnecessary battles. This will save me a ton of time. Shifeng smiled. Without hesitation, he spent 1 magic crystal to activate the Detection Crystal Ball and looked for his next target. Although Anna wouldn't be able to use her berserk skill again for a short time, Shifeng had summoned another Tier 3 demon to assist him as soon as the demon summoning skill's cooldown had ended. With the extra Tier 3 demon, his party could slowly whittle down another level 70 Grand Lord even without the personal guard's berserk skill. In such a way, Shifeng continued to hunt Grand Lords in the darkness world. As for his stamina and concentration recovery, Shifeng had used the life essence he had accumulated with the blood-refining crystal to remain battle-ready. In addition, every monster he killed in the darkness world granted varying amounts of blood energy, which he could use to create more life essence. In the end, Shifeng grinded monsters for a full day without rest. With the help of divine providence, he had collected 28 darkness stones and 200+ darkness stone fragments during that time. At this rate, he should be able to collect 100 darkness stones in no time. In addition, he had collected over 100 pieces of level 60 secret silver and fine gold weapons and equipment. He also managed to complete one Dark Devourer set and now had 4 set pieces of the Fantasy Demon set, only missing the helmet and gloves. Although Shifeng was in high spirits and more than eager to continue his grind, his many years of experience in God's domain had taught him that it was important to balance work and rest properly. Although the life essence replenished his stamina and concentration, it was more of a stimulant than a replacement for actual rest. If he wanted to rest his mind, he had to log out of the game. After returning to reality, Shifeng planned to see to his basic training, as usual, maintaining his physical fitness. He then planned to make the necessary arrangements to expand the Zero Wing workshop. Now that the Zero Wing Guild was on the right track to becoming a superpower, and had acquired a city of its own, the guild would only grow as it moved forward. Naturally, the guild's management would become more complex. He needed more personnel to manage Zero Wing, and so, he needed to expand his workshop and recruit more internal members. But before Shifeng could leave his room, the quantum watch on his wrist, which was connected to his virtual gaming cabin, rang. The display on his watch showed that the caller was Aqua Rose. "Guild leader, I finally got through to you," Aqua Rose said as soon as the call connected, sounding a little rushed. "Has something happened to the guild?" Shifeng asked curiously. "Something big has happened," Aqua Rose stated. "While you were grinding in the darkness world, Heaven's Burial has been trying desperately to fend off the various superpowers surrounding it. It has even mobilized countless evil demons and evil beasts, but midway through the siege, one of the superpowers mobilized powerful siege weapons and a large number of NPC mercenaries. The battle continued for several more hours, and after suffering immense casualties, the various superpowers finally broke past Ancient Rock City's walls and charged into the City Lord's mansion. "So, Ancient Rock City has been taken?" Shifeng could not help but smile. He had destroyed Ancient Rock City's defensive magic arrays precisely so that he could cut off one of Heaven's Burial's revenue sources. If another power claimed Ancient Rock City, it was definitely worth celebrating for Zero Wing. "No," Aqua Rose said, shaking her head. "No. Haven't they broken into the City Lord's mansion? With the various superpowers' strength, they should have no issues getting to the City Lord's tablet even if there are evil demons in the building." Aqua Rose's reply left Shifeng slightly confused. The various superpowers were recognized as such due to the large number of experts they employed. While Refinement Realm experts couldn't do much in a war involving tens of thousands of players, they could exhibit tremendous combat power in compact fights with a limited number of opponents. Even if level 100 NPC soldiers were stationed inside the City Lord's mansion, those NPCs wouldn't be able to stop every Refinement Realm expert from reaching the City Lord's tablet. The various superpowers have stormed the City Lord's mansion, but some Tier 4 NPC appeared suddenly and transformed Ancient Rock City into an evil demon nest. Not only has the city become a forbidden land for players, but the evil beasts and demons are also expanding their influence and capturing areas around Ancient Rock City. More evil demons and evil beasts are joining the force by the minute. Just some time ago, we received a report stating that the other guild's towns in the Orc Empire have fallen to these evil demons. According to our scouts, the evil demon army is spreading towards Star Moon Kingdom's borders. By the looks of it, Zero Wing City is the army's target. Chapter 1680 Evil Gods Branch Temple. Chapter 1680 Evil Gods Branch Temple. Chapter 1680 Evil God's Branch Temple. A Tier 4 NPC appeared in ancient Rock City, and the NPC transformed the city into an evil demon nest. How is that possible? Shifeng was stunned after listening to Aqua Rose's report. Suddenly, a possibility came to mind, and he could not help but ask, "Do you have the latest image of ancient Rock City?" "Yes, I'll send it now." Aqua Rose nodded. The fact that ancient Rock City had become an evil demon nest had frustrated the various superpowers. Hence, they had sent plenty of scouts to investigate ancient Rock City's current state in the hopes of wresting back control of the city. Meanwhile, Zero Wing had collected quite a bit of information from those superpowers. Following which, Shifeng entered his virtual gaming cabin again and logged into his rest space. He could still make contact with players in God's domain from within the rest space. Once he had logged in, Shifeng noticed the pictures of ancient Rock City Aqua Rose had sent. In addition to that, she had sent video recordings and statistics reports about the current forces inside the city. What a terrifying number. Shifeng was shocked as he watched the videos. Evil demons and evil beasts crowded ancient Rock City, both on its walls and inside the city itself. Several million monsters had taken control of the city, far more than any single player could control. Based on the information the various superpowers had gathered, there should be roughly 3 million evil demons and evil beasts defending ancient Rock City. Moreover, this number continued to grow as time passed. However, the number of monsters within the city wasn't the most important aspect. It was these monsters' levels. The lowest leveled monster present in the city was level 50, while the higher leveled ones had reached level 80. Moreover, there were mythic ranked evil beasts and evil demons outside of the city. Based on current reports, there should be more than 10 mythic ranked evil beasts and evil demons protecting ancient Rock City. There was also a level 80, Tier 4 NPC stationed in the city. This NPC was the true Grim Reaper to players due to its Tier 4 domain skill. Based on the reports, hostile players that tried to approach this Tier 4 NPC would be transformed into evil demons before they could get near the NPC. Sure enough. Shifeng frowned as he gazed at the towering temple in the heart of ancient Rock City. They sure are ruthless. They actually built a branch of the evil god's temple in ancient Rock City. The only way to transform a city into an evil demon nest was to create an evil god's temple branch temple in the city. If a branch temple descended, one could instantly teleport all of the evil beasts and demons under their command to the temple, essentially fortifying the city with an army. However, it was extremely difficult to get a branch temple to descend. First, the descent's target must not have any defensive magic arrays, and second, one would need a large number of precious materials and souls. Once a branch temple descended, the occupied city would crumble. Although it was only a branch temple, the density of the evil energy it exuded would be horrific. This evil energy would corrupt the land the branch temple occupied, and only a Tier 5 high priest or above would be able to cleanse the corrupted land. If the land remained corrupt, ordinary players wouldn't be able to survive there. Now that a branch temple had descended, ancient Rock City had been undoubtedly crippled. The city's fate as an evil demon nest was sealed. Becoming a guild city again was practically impossible. Guild leader, what should we do? The evil demon and evil beast armies are clearly marching towards Zero Wing City. Even if we petition the kingdom's armies to suppress these monsters at the border, there are too many of them. In addition, more evil beasts and evil demons join the march as time passes. On the off chance that the kingdom's armies fail to hold off these monsters and they reach Zero Wing City, we'll definitely be in trouble, Aqua Rose expressed her concern. If such a frightening number of evil beasts and evil demons assaulted Zero Wing City, it would only be a matter of time before the city fell even if it had a stronger defensive magic array than Stone Forest Town. Mythic ranked creatures marched alongside the evil beasts and demons towards Zero Wing City. After all, even if Zero Wing City's defensive magic array could stop those monsters' attacks, there was a limit to how long the magic array could hold. Once it broke, the city's players would quickly follow. If they did not think of a plan to stop the monster army now, Zero Wing City would be finished. Shifeng felt a headache brew as he looked at the dense swarm of evil demons and evil beasts. He had never thought that Beast Emperor and Heaven's Burial had grown so powerful that they could summon a branch temple. It wasn't exactly a simple task, and the price of doing so was unimaginable. This was because the branch temple was meant to hide the main temple. If Beast Emperor and Heaven's Burial had tried to mobilize their monster armies from within Starmoon Kingdom, even if Shifeng had sat back and done nothing, the kingdom's NPCs would discover the evil god's temple within Starmoon Kingdom immediately. At that time, the kingdom would doubtlessly dispatch its armies to exterminate the temple. But a branch temple was a different story. Since Beast Emperor and Heaven's Burial teleported their monsters from the main temple to the branch temple, it was impossible to track down the main temple before these armies mobilized within the kingdom. Meanwhile, even if the branch temple were destroyed, the evil demon and evil beast armies were already outside of Starmoon Kingdom. They would not teleport back to the main temple due to the branch temple's destruction. Notify Snow and have her organize the guild's experts to coordinate with the kingdom's armies immediately. We need to stop as much of that monster army as possible. Also, figure out a way to collect as many magic crystals as possible. Before I return, have everyone put as much distance as possible between them and the monster army. That includes other guild's members and independent players. Make sure they don't become sacrifices for that army, Shifeng ordered after giving the matter some thought. The evil god's temple had been a constant thorn in the side for God's domain's various major powers in the past. The main reason for this, the temple members' ability to create evil beasts and demons through their defeated opponents. If a force weren't strong enough and tried to challenge the evil beasts and evil demons, they'd only become food for those monsters. There were two methods to keep its forces from spreading when the evil god's temple plagued a country. The first was to exterminate every evil beast and demon found with overwhelming strength, while the second was to destroy the main temple. In reality, the evil god's temples across the continent of God's domain served as evil energy transfer devices. When activated, the evil god's temples would send evil energy throughout the continent, creating a suitable environment for its evil beasts and demons. As long as one destroyed the activated evil god's temple, they could stop the transfer of evil energy. After losing its source, the evil energy that had spread would gradually thin until the environment became hostile for evil beasts and demons once again. Some of the weaker monsters might even die as a result, while the stronger monsters would grow weaker and become easier to defeat. However, the whereabouts of Starmoon Kingdom's evil god's temple remained unknown, and destroying the heavily guarded branch temple in the Orc Empire was impossible. The only hope of fending off the monster army that marched towards Zero Wing City was to send expert players to work alongside the NPC armies, whittling away as many of the evil beasts and demons as possible. The monster army could only grow if it had sacrifices. It couldn't bolster its numbers without a cost. Understood. I'll notify Snow right away. Aqua Rose nodded before disconnecting the call. Not daring to waste time, Shifeng immediately logged back into God's domain and continued to grind for darkness stones. Meanwhile, over 500,000 players had gathered in a forest at the border of Stone Forest Town's map. Among them, over 100,000 wore Heaven's Burial's guild emblem. Every one of these players was level 47 and above, and they were all very well equipped. However, every one of these players wore tense expressions. Beast Emperor, I've prepared the 400,000 players you've asked for. I hope that you will fulfill your promise. Singular Burial, who stood atop a hillside, told the middle-aged man beside him. The middle-aged man had ashen skin covered in runes. The man also wielded a staff made of pitch-black jade. This man was none other than Beast Emperor. However, he was no longer covered in bandages. Relax. When have I ever broken a promise to you? Beast Emperor laughed. Turning his sight towards the player army at the bottom of the hill, he commanded, "All right, let's begin." Chapter 1681, Brute Force. Chapter 1681, Brute Force. Chapter 1681, Brute Force. After Beast Emperor finished speaking, he immediately began writing divine runes and chanting an incantation. Suddenly, a gigantic magic array formed beneath Beast Emperor's feet and continuously expanded outward. Only after reaching a radius of 500 yards did it stop growing. The magic array then conducted a massive amount of mana that no single player would be capable of. When the magic array was complete, Beast Emperor stabbed the black jade staff in his hand into the center of the magic array, letting it serve as the magic array's core. Have them enter the magic array one by one. Make sure not to enter it too quickly. If they're too quick, the magic array won't be able to absorb their immortal souls, and they will end up hurt for nothing, Beast Emperor said as he looked at Singular Burial. Also, during this period, no harm must come to the magic array's core. Otherwise, everything will be for naught. Rest assured. I've summoned plenty of my guild's experts here. There's even an army of 100,000 elites spread across the surrounding area. Even if someone tries to launch an ambush, I still have a defensive magic array I can activate to hold them back, Singular Burial said, nodding. His gaze then shifted toward the general direction of Stone Forest Town, a cold glint flashing in his eyes as he swore, "Black Flame, just you wait. Since you dared to destroy my ancient rock city, I will definitely let you personally witness the destruction of the guild you created." Due to the various superpowers' successful invasion of ancient rock city, he had no choice but to turn the city into a nest for evil demons. The loss of this massive source of income had a considerable impact on Heaven's Burial's development. In fact, some of the major corporations supporting Heaven's Burial had already withdrawn their funds, instantly shattering Singular Burial's dream of making the guild a superpower. As for the remaining corporations backing Heaven's Burial, they were staying only because they believed in Lei Jingyang's and his own abilities. If not for the two of them, these major corporations would have drastically reduced the funding they provided Heaven's Burial. Hence, it was definitely not an exaggeration to say that the hatred he felt for Zero Wing could blot out the sky. Originally, the plan was to take action against Zero Wing. However, after the battle at Ancient Rock City, Singular Burial changed his mind. He also wanted Zero Wing's members to have a taste of getting whittled down and destroyed bit by bit. First, he would take away Stone Forest Town. Next, he would deal with Zero Wing City. With these two places gone, Zero Wing would lose two of its most important sources of income. If that happened, it was only a matter of time before Zero Wing crumbled. Meanwhile, all Black Flame would be able to do at that time was watch as Zero Wing dissolved into nothingness while Stone Forest Town and Zero Wing City fell into the hands of Heaven's Burial. From then on, Heaven's Burial would replace Zero Wing as Star Moon Kingdom's absolute overlord. Beast Emperor no longer made any further comments. Instead, he summoned a mythic-ranked evil demon to secretly assist in protecting the magic array. Compared to expert players, a mythic-ranked evil demon provided much greater assurance. After all, he had paid an enormous price to obtain the Black Jade Staff. Acquiring another one to hold another sacrificial ceremony would be extremely difficult. After Beast Emperor was done dealing with the matters here, he took out a teleportation scroll and left the area. All he needed to do now was wait for the magic array to collect a sufficient number of immortal souls. Meanwhile, such a large commotion naturally could not escape the eyes of Star Moon Kingdom's various major powers. What's Heaven's Burial trying to do by gathering so many players over at Stone Forest Town? Could it be preparing to vent its anger on Zero Wing's Stone Forest Town now that its ancient rock city has been destroyed? That shouldn't be the case, right? That Stone Forest Town we're talking about. It's not as if we've never seen how strong the town's defenses are. It is even more fortified than NPC towns. Moreover, I heard that the number of Tier 2 NPC soldiers defending Stone Forest Town has already exceeded 400. The town won't be so easy to take down. Hasn't Heaven's Burial learned its lesson from its previous failure? Maybe Heaven's Burial has some trump card to rely on. When the various major powers discovered Heaven's Burial's actions, they could not help but discuss it curiously. They all wondered what Heaven's Burial was trying to do. Vice Guild Leader, Heaven's Burial seems to be trying to take action against Stone Forest Town. What should we do? The Zero Wing members garrisoning Stone Forest Town were greatly concerned over this matter. Based on Heaven's Burial's actions, that guild was obviously planning on starting a guild war, only it had yet to make all the necessary preparations. Once it was ready, however, it would definitely launch an attack. Everyone in the guild is to avoid casually going out during this period, to avoid getting ambushed by Heaven's Burial's evil demons. At the same time, keep a close eye on Heaven's Burial's status and report back any findings immediately. Aqua Rose fired off commands through the guild chat. She also had Melancholic Smile strengthen the defenses of Stone Forest Town, building more defense turrets and moving more miniature ballistas to Stone Forest Town as a precaution. Currently, Heaven's Burial's monster army was already approaching Starmoon Kingdom's border. If Zero Wing did not send experts to help the NPC armies exterminate some of the monster army's advance into Starmoon Kingdom would definitely accelerate. Hence, they could not afford to pull away those experts to deal with Heaven's Burial's player army. The only thing they could do right now was slow the advance of the monster army while strengthening the defenses of Stone Forest Town. Not to mention, the odds were that Heaven's Burial's player army was capable of summoning a large number of evil demons to aid the army in battle. If Zero Wing launched a half-hearted attack on Heaven's Burial's player army, Zero Wing's members would definitely be beaten black and blue. After all, without the help of static defenses and NPC soldiers, players couldn't contend against the powerful evil demons. For a time, the atmosphere in Starmoon Kingdom turned awkward. Aside from Zero Wing, the other guilds in the kingdom were also making their own preparations for war. After all, nobody knew for sure what Heaven's Burial was actually trying to do. There was always a chance that the guild would go crazy and start attacking every guild town in sight. Although the NPCs of Starmoon Kingdom had already tightened its security measures against evil beasts and evil demons, if players wanted to have the kingdom's armies mobilized to assist them in dealing with these monsters, they needed to provide concrete proof that these monsters had actually appeared. Only then would the kingdom's armies move out. Moreover, the kingdom's armies would need some time to get to the battlefield. If their guild towns failed to hold out until the kingdom's armies arrived, then there would be no point in notifying the kingdom. Hence, the various large guilds had all started building up the defenses of their respective towns. Meanwhile, back at the Darkness World, Shifeng had also started grinding Grand Lords with greater urgency. Now, he had 2 heroic spirits participating in the battle simultaneously. With the help of Anna and 3 Tier 3 demons, killing level 70 or so Grand Lords became significantly easier. However, Grand Lords still weren't available in great abundance. After half a day or so of wanton slaughter, Shifeng had basically killed every Grand Lord present on the map he was currently in. Now, Shifeng had a total of 52 Darkness Stones and 386 Darkness Stone fragments, which was still some distance away from his target. Meanwhile, if he wished to find and kill more Grand Lords, he had only 2 options to do so. The first option was to wait for the Grand Lords he killed to respawn. However, Grand Lords generally took 2 or 3 natural days to respawn. Killing the Grand Lords too quickly had left him with no Grand Lords to grind. However, Shifeng couldn't do anything about this situation. Anna was simply too strong. The second option was to head to other maps. The Grand Lords of other maps remained untouched. They were all alive and kicking. The only problem was getting to other maps. The Darkness World was different from the continent of God's domain. On the continent of God's domain, players faced no hindrance when moving between maps. In the Darkness World, however, the maps had strict level restrictions preventing players from going wherever they wished. In a sense, the Darkness World was similar to the Ice Crystal World. Players needed to defeat the designated Guardian boss in order to proceed to other maps, otherwise, they would be stuck in the same map forever. Generally, players that arrived at the Darkness World using the teleportation stones exchanged at the 7 Luminaries Temple would not think of heading to other maps, because the map they were teleported to was suitable for their level, and just surviving in the said map was already plenty difficult. They would not even have time to think about heading to other maps. Shifeng was definitely a unique case. It seems I have no choice but to force my way through, Shifeng thought as he looked at the 30-meter-tall monster sleeping inside the canyon ahead of him. He then advanced towards the monster together with Anna. Now that the evil demon and evil beast armies were invading Starmoon Kingdom, he naturally could not waste time waiting for the Grand Lords he had killed to respawn. His only choice was to head to another map and hunt the Grand Lords there. Chapter 1682, High Demon. Chapter 1682, High Demon. Chapter 1682, High Demon. Inside the quiet canyon, when Shifeng got within 1,000 yards of the next map, he suddenly felt a powerful pressure washing over him. The pressure he felt now was completely different from what he experienced from the monsters he encountered before. In other words, there was a qualitative change to the pressure he felt. Currently, Shifeng had already reached Tier 2, yet the pressure still made him extremely uncomfortable. His body felt as if it was fully submerged in a pool of water. The pressure is so strong despite the 1,000 yards separating us. Shifeng stared at the massive figure displayed on his detection crystal ball in disbelief. The crystal ball showed a humanoid figure with the head of a goat sprawled across the ground before the canyon's exit. The figure also had a massive serpent for a tail and the bat-like wings commonly seen on demons. As the figure exhaled, flames surged out of its nostrils and scorched the ground before it. What? A high demon? Shifeng was dumbfounded as he looked at this figure. There were many demonic creatures in God's domain. Aside from having a difference in strength, these demonic creatures were also distinguished by lineage. In fact, the hierarchy among demons was largely determined based on lineage. Demons with noble lineages ruled over demons with ordinary lineages. Naturally, the nobler the lineage a demon possessed, the greater their potential for growth. In God's domain, most demons at the Demon King standard were high demons. It was very difficult for a demon with an ordinary lineage to grow into a Tier 5 Demon King, much less a Tier 6 demon god. Demons with noble lineages were known as high demons. In terms of life rating, they were superior to even archaic species. At the same tier, only dragons or ferocious beasts would be capable of suppressing high demons. Needless to say, the ordinary demons Shifeng summoned were no match for high demons. Nevertheless, the guardian boss stationed at the entrance to the next map was actually a high demon. Due to the extreme distance, the detection crystal ball couldn't detect the statistics of the high demon. However, when Shifeng arrived within 600 yards of the high demon, its statistics entered his eyes. Baphomet, High Demon, Grand Lord. Level 73. HP 120 000000120 0000000. A level 73 Grand Lord. Shifeng fell into deep thought as he looked at Baphomet's statistics. Compared to an archaic species of the same level, a high demon had much less HP. Even so, 120 million HP was still a horrifying amount for him to deal with. Just Baphomet's battle recovery alone allowed it to recover 1,200,000 HP every 5 seconds. If his DPS was lower than 240,000, Baphomet would be an invincible existence to him. The only stroke of luck was that Baphomet was a demon. So long as his opponent was a demon, the Bible of Darkness would be able to suppress it. Although he couldn't use the Bible of Darkness to turn Baphomet into his subordinate, he could greatly suppress the high demon's basic attributes. Moreover, this suppression was absolute, its effects would not weaken in the slightest, unlike how magic arrays and the like did when the target monster was too strong. All the same, a high demon was still a high demon. Baphomet wasn't just strong in terms of basic attributes. The skills, spells, and combat standard it possessed were beyond those of an ordinary demon. I can only give it a try. Gritting his teeth, Shifeng took out another primordial scroll from his bag and summoned a third primordial heroic spirit. Although Zero Wing City's defenses were far superior to an ordinary guild city's, the current situation was unlike before. The quantity and quality of the evil beasts and evil demons surging into Starmoon Kingdom were extraordinary. If the monsters broke through the defensive network of the kingdom's army and reached Zero Wing City, Shifeng was unsure whether Zero Wing City could hold its ground against them. If he could secure the Lost Town before this happened, the numerous mana weapons stored inside the Lost Town would undoubtedly raise Zero Wing's strength by a significant margin. At that time, the chances of defending Zero Wing City would also improve significantly. Looking at Baphomet, Shifeng did not hurry to have his 3 demons charge at the high demon. Instead, he waited out the cooldown of Anna's skills. Afterward, he had the 3 heroic spirits cast one buff after another on everyone in the group, causing their basic attributes to skyrocket, particularly those of the level 80 Golden Giant, which already possessed immense strength. After being buffed up by the 3 heroic spirits, its strength was already close to rivaling a Grand Lord's of the same level. Following which, Shifeng gave the command to attack. Taking the lead, the Golden Giant and 3 Tier 3 demons charged forward, the 10 Rock Guardians following closely after them. If a player were to witness this scene, they would definitely turn around and flee. However, Baphomet simply yawned, paying no heed whatsoever to the approaching enemies. Only when the Golden Giant and 3 demons arrived within 200 yards of Baphomet did the High Demon look at the Golden Giant. Suddenly, as if they had just stepped into a muddy swamp, the Golden Giant, demons, and Rock Guardians' speed decreased abruptly. Moreover, their movement speed wasn't the only thing reduced, even their reaction speeds turned sluggish. Following which, Baphomet stomped on the ground and disappeared from where it stood. When Baphomet reappeared, it had moved over 50 yards from its original position. The High Demon was practically faster than even an ordinary mythic monster. Before the Golden Giant could react, Baphomet already stood before it, the High Demon looking no different from a child compared to the Golden Giant. After appearing before the Golden Giant, Baphomet waved its hand lightly as if it was sweeping away dust. In the next moment, the Golden Giant and the demons and Rock Guardians standing beside and behind the Golden Giant were all sent flying over 20 yards back, damages appearing above the summoned creatures' heads. Among the group, the Golden Giant, which possessed the highest defense, lost over 700,000 HP, whereas the Lord-ranked Rock Guardians lost over 1 million HP each. Sure enough, it's very strong. Shifeng was deeply shocked by the strength Baphomet displayed. Baphomet was much more powerful than any of the Grand Lord-ranked archaic species he had gone up against before. Moreover, based on the performance Baphomet just displayed, Shifeng could tell that the High Demon's combat standard should be at the 6th floor trial tower standard. With the High Demon's mythical speed, even a 100-man team of Tier 2 experts would be like fish on a chopping board if it went up against Baphomet. Afterward, a series of exchanges took place between both sides. Unfortunately, although the Golden Giant and 3 demons retaliated, they only managed to land a few spells on Baphomet. Relying on its mythical speed, the High Demon easily dodged every normal attack sent at it. In contrast, despite being healed by Tier 3 heroic spirits, the Golden Giant and demons still continually lost HP. Although the Golden Giant and demons tried blocking and dodging Baphomet's attacks, their weakened reaction speeds prevented them from doing so. However, as Baphomet paid attention only to the Golden Giant and Tier 3 demons, Shifeng was able to get within 100 yards of the High Demon unnoticed and immediately activated Demon Ruler. Suddenly, a ripple of power left the Bible of Darkness Shifeng held. Baphomet's basic attributes promptly plummeted by 30%. The effect of Demon Ruler was remarkable. However, this was still not the end. Anna, who had long since completed her own preparations, had the Rock Giants form a magic array and suppressed Baphomet even more. However, the magic array was evidently inferior to Demon Ruler. In the end, Baphomet retained 60% of its original basic attributes, and it still suppressed the Golden Giant and Tier 3 demons. But instead of dodging all of the Golden Giant and demons' attacks, the High Demon was now forced to parry and block instead. Nevertheless, the Golden Giant failed to inflict any significant damage on Baphomet. Seeing this, Shifeng had no choice but to spend 5,000 magic crystals and activate the Ring of Gospel's world projection. When world projection descended on Baphomet, the High Demon's speed decreased once more. However, even after world projection suppression took effect, Baphomet still retained 50% of its basic attributes and still overwhelmed the Golden Giant. How is it so powerful? Shifeng was next to speechless as he stared at Baphomet. If not for the Bible of Darkness's suppression, he would have long since turned around and fled by now. After thinking up to this point, he turned to look at Anna, a bitter smile on his face as he said, "It seems we can't hold back anything at all." Following which, he commanded Anna to use her other over-tier spell, which was also the strongest spell Anna currently possessed. Tier 3 Curse, Yin-Yang Judgment. Yin-Yang Judgment's cooldown was 1 natural day. Unless absolutely necessary, Shifeng did not wish to use the curse at all. However, if he did not use it now, It was only a matter of time before Baphomet defeated his team. After all, world projection had a short duration of only 10 minutes, each use costing him 5,000 magic crystals. He did not have enough magic crystals to fight a protracted battle with the High Demon. Chapter 1683, First Kill Baphomet. Chapter 1683, First Kill Baphomet. Chapter 1683, First Kill Baphomet. After Anna completed the final verse of her incantation, two magic arrays, one glowing white and the other, black, appeared above Baphomet. The mana surrounding the magic array then grew restless, blurring space around the High Demon. Such a huge disturbance attracted Baphomet's attention, and the High Demon's immediate reaction was to turn and flee. But Anna didn't give Baphomet the chance to escape. Waving her staff, she activated the magic array looming above Baphomet. Suddenly, a 50-meter-long golden, holy spear descended from the sky. The instant the spear fell, space around the magic array and Baphomet froze, drastically decreasing the High Demon's movement speed. Before Baphomet could attempt to defend itself, the holy spear collided with the monster. Boom! As a result, a towering, black-white light pillar rose into the air. When the pillar had manifested, the world around Baphomet shook violently, and resulting shockwave pushed the Golden Giant and the Tier 3 demons under Shifeng's control back by over 20 yards. After the light pillar had disappeared, it revealed a massive crater where Baphomet had stood, with the High Lord lying at the body. Scorching flames burned the High Demon, decorating it and the crater with scorch marks. Dark blue blood seeped from the numerous wounds covering Baphomet's body. However, compared to Baphomet's miserable appearance, the damage it had taken was truly terrifying. -4,467,175. A damage of over 4 million appeared above Baphomet's head. To Baphomet, who only had a maximum HP of 60 million after multiple means of suppression, this move had taken nearly 1/13 of its total HP. The might of yin-yang judgment completely exceeded Shifeng's expectations. Moreover, Baphomet had been heavily injured when the Tier 3 curse had struck, significantly decreasing its combat power. With no intentions of letting Baphomet recover, Shifeng ordered all of the summoned creatures to use their strongest moves, holding nothing back. Following which, Tier 2 and Tier 3 skills and spells bombarded the High Demon, one after another. The injured Baphomet wasn't able to dodge any of the incoming attacks, and every skill and spell that had been sent slammed into the High Demon. Each attack dealt a minimum of -500,000 damage, depleting Baphomet's HP by a significant chunk. 80%. 75%. 70%. Although Baphomet eventually recovered from its mental shock and resumed its retaliation, the Golden Giant was more than enough to keep the High Demon busy with its weakened combat power. This prevented Baphomet from blocking Anna, the Tier 3 demons, and heroic spirits attacks. Of course, Shifeng didn't hold back, either. After activating Heavenly Dragon's power, followed by Phantom Kill, he charged forward. 9 Dragons Slash. Shadow Blade. Lightning Flash. Purgatory Pentaslash. Thunder Flame Explosion. Flame Burst. Thanks to Killing Ray, every one of Shifeng's skills dealt double damage to Baphomet, and damages in the tens of thousands appeared above the boss's head. Although his damage was no match for the Tier 3 demons, who weren't suppressed by the Darkness World, it was still considerable. 50%. 40%. 30%. As time passed and Baphomet's HP continuously decreased, it continued to recover. Gradually, its reaction speed recovered, and eventually, the level 80 Golden Giant wasn't able to keep up with its attacks. This forced the heroic spirits at the rear line to shift their focus from offense to healing. Once Baphomet's HP fell to 20%, the High Demon revealed a sinister grin. It began to swipe its claws at the air around it, sending powerful gales at Shifeng and his team. Before Shifeng and the others could launch another assault, Baphomet had finished chanting an incantation. The ground before the High Demon then cracked and shattered as towering, pitch-black flames spewed from the cracks. When the flames had dissipated, a crimson long sword engraved with pitch-black runes had taken their place. The moment the long sword appeared, Shifeng felt the surrounding power of darkness surge towards the weapon. The concentrated power of darkness became a black mist that circulated the crimson blade. Releasing the one-handed sword in its right hand, Baphomet grabbed the crimson longsword. The moment the high demon touched the weapon, black flames danced along the sword's blade. Soulfire. Shifeng's expression darkened when he saw the flames. The punishment for challenging it is actually this severe. Although he had known that a high demon would have powerful attack methods, he hadn't expected Baphomet to use Soulfire in battle. This was a player's nightmare. Soulfire was capable of burning souls, and not even players' immortal souls were immune to its effects. If players were killed by Soulfire, not only would their death penalty increase, but they would also be prevented from logging into God's domain for multiple days. Of course, this mechanic had likely been created to prevent players from challenging the Guardian boss a second time within a short period. However, Shifeng didn't want to waste too much time in the darkness world. If he suddenly couldn't log into the game for several days, Zero Wing would be finished. Without waiting for Shifeng to respond, Baphomet stomped its hoofs on the ground and vanished. It then reappeared before the Golden Giant, cutting down at the Great Lord with its flaming longsword. Failing to react in time, the Golden Giant succumbed to Baphomet's attack, a damage over -1,300,000 appearing above its head. Pitch-black flames licked at the wood the long sword had created. Seeing this, the heroic spirits immediately cast their healing spells on the Golden Giant. However, when the healing spells touched the Great Lord, their effects seemed to have changed. Not only did the Golden Giant still sport the wound, but the pitch-black flames also burned with their original vigor. In fact, the Golden Giant had only received 30% of the spell's normal healing. When he saw this, Shifeng's expression darkened further. Reduced healing effects was still acceptable, but the fact that the wounds Baphomet had inflicted couldn't be healed complicated the situation. As the Golden Giant accumulated more injuries, it would suffer a heavily injured state sooner or later. If that happened, its combat power would fall, and it would be helpless against the High Demon. If the Golden Giant couldn't deal sufficient damage, it would lose Baphomet's aggro. The High Demon would then be free to target someone else. Quick! Attack it with everything you've got, Shifeng commanded Anna. At the same time, he took 2 Tier 3 magic scrolls from his bag and activated them, one after another. Holding nothing back, Anna activated yin-yang power, her mana overflowing from her body. One Tier 3 spell after another bombarded Baphomet. However, even after noticing the incoming spells, Baphomet simply revealed a sneer as it lightly swung its crimson longsword, sending a wave of black fire to devour the approaching spells. The pitch-black flames corroded the Tier 3 spell's power relentlessly. By the time the spells actually reached Baphomet, they were weaker than Tier 2 spells. Baphomet then swung its longsword again and easily crushed the incoming attacks. Fortunately, although Baphomet had superior strength, it couldn't completely dodge the Tier 3 demon's attacks. Although its HP fell much slower than before, it still decreased at a steady rate. After using the 2 Tier 3 magic scrolls, Shifeng proceeded to activate Blade Liberation. Currently, both Baphomet's defense and reaction speed were recovering, and as a result, it continued to take less damage. Despite bombarding Baphomet with a series of powerful attacks, they had only reduced Baphomet's HP to 12%. In contrast, the Golden Giant had become heavily injured after receiving 10 hits from the High Demon's Crimson Longsword, and it could no longer serve as a proper MT. Baphomet then turned its attention to the Tier 3 demons. If this continued, it was only a matter of time before they team-wiped. After activating Blade Liberation, Shifeng's attributes skyrocketed yet again, and his basic attributes now surpassed the level 80 Golden Giants. Following which, Shifeng activated Instant Strike and appeared before Baphomet. Swords orbit. Dang. 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 Unfortunately, Baphomet managed to block the majority of Shifeng's slashes. Only the occasional slash slipped past the High Demon's guard and dealt a little over -100,000 damage. With how much HP Baphomet had remaining, the High Demon wasn't particularly concerned with this amount of damage. Even after Shifeng fought for several seconds and launched dozens of slashes, the High Demon still had 5% of its HP remaining. Meanwhile, once Shifeng had lost Instant Strike's buff, Baphomet gained the upper hand. In fact, due to Shifeng's weakened state, he lacked any ability to retaliate. He could only defend himself. Fortunately, Anna finally finished her incantation. Angel summoning. Suddenly, a Tier 4 Valkyrie dropped onto the battlefield. Taking a step forward, the Valkyrie instantly appeared before Baphomet and swung her holy spear. Despite being a high demon, the impact still sent Baphomet flying back over 20 yards, robbing it of its defensive stance. Immediately, the Valkyrie threw her holy spear, which easily pierced through the defenseless high demon and dealt over -4 million damage. In the blink of an eye, Baphomet's HP fell below 1 million. Taking advantage of this opportunity, Shifeng activated Divine Providence and pointed Killing Ray at Baphomet. Flame Domain. Lightning Edge. Under Shifeng's command, a raging inferno and countless sword lights devoured Baphomet. Damages of over -200,000 appeared above Baphomet's head, one after another, tearing what little remained of the high demon's HP away. Baphomet then died and collapsed to the ground. Following which, Shifeng watched his experience bar increase rapidly. At the same time, the sound of a system notification reached his ears. System. Congratulations. You have obtained the first kill on Baphomet, the guardian boss of Dark Sin Canyon. Rewards doubled. Acquired High Demon's Soul. Chapter 1684, Repairing the Bible of Darkness. Chapter 1684, Repairing the Bible of Darkness. Chapter 1684, Repairing the Bible of Darkness. After watching Baphomet die, Shifeng breathed a deep sigh of relief. Despite the fact that the Darkness world reduced Shifeng's EXP gain, his experience bar had risen by 7%, pushing him to 62% of level 65. If not for the 95% reduction in EXP gain, he definitely would have climbed to level 66. With the High Demon's death, loot rained down from above, creating a dazzling sight to behold. If the various superpowers learned of this, they'd die from envy. The Darkness world's monsters already dropped excellent loot, and as a map's guardian boss, Baphomet's loot was far better than the map's other monsters. Including the first kill bonus, one could just imagine how bountiful the High Demon's loot was. Giving the loot a rough glance, Shifeng estimated that there should be over 100 items. As items rained from the sky, a crystal, radiating a golden glow, landed before Shifeng. His curiosity piqued, Shifeng promptly picked up the crystal and inspected it. High Demon's Soul, Epic Rank Consumable. Sacrifice magic crystals to create a new body for High Demon Baphomet. Spend 2,000 magic crystals to create a Tier 3 body that is 10 levels higher than the user, 5,000 magic crystals to create a Tier 4 body that is 15 levels higher than the user. Can be used 3 times. Cooldown, 5 minutes. Current usage count, 0. What a powerful epic consumable. Shifeng was stunned as he read the crystal's introductory text. Epic consumables were incredibly rare in God's domain, and each one was incomparably powerful. Take the Demon King's Horn, for example. It had enabled Shifeng to destroy a city's defensive magic array instantly. Meanwhile, the High Demon's Soul was similarly extraordinary. At this stage of the game, a Tier 4 High Demon was practically invincible to players. Moreover, Shifeng could use the item 3 times. Also, the High Demon's Soul was different from the Divine Beast's Descent magic array. In the latter's case, if the magic array's operation were interrupted, the summoned Divine Beast would disappear. In the case of the High Demon's Soul, the summoned High Demon would only be cancelled if the owner were killed. It was a perfect tool of war. Shifeng then stored the High Demon's Soul and collected the loot scattered across the ground. In total, Baphomet had dropped 154 items, including 45 epic materials and 31 magic scrolls. Among the magic scrolls, 6 were Tier 3 magic scrolls, 2 large-scale destruction magic scrolls, 1 summoning scroll, 2 defensive magic scrolls, and 1 single-target attack magic scroll. There was also 1 Tier 4 large-scale destruction magic scroll. The Guardian boss had dropped 1 Grandmaster and 33 Master-ranked potions, as well. The Grandmaster potion was a growth potion that when consumed, would temporarily increase the user's potential and forcefully elevate them by a single tier. This potion wasn't particularly useful to Tier 1 players, but to Tier 2 players and above, this potion's effects were even stronger than a Berserk skill. A Berserk skill only granted players additional basic attributes. However, this growth potion elevated players by a single tier. Not only would this increase grant players a boost to their basic attributes, but players' physique would also improve. This potion would be miraculously effective in dungeons. As for the remaining 44 items, there were 10 designs and recipes of various kinds among them. There was even a master-ranked potion recipe and a master-ranked engineering design. The master-ranked potion in question was the life potion. Not only would this potion heal players for 70% of their maximum HP instantly when consumed, but it would also grant an hot buff that recovered 2% of the user's HP every second for 10 seconds. In addition, it healed any heavy injuries and replenished 10% of the player's stamina and concentration. Unfortunately, the potion had a 5-minute cooldown, so it could only be used once or twice in most battles. Even so, it was much stronger than any advanced ranked recovery potion available on the market currently. Aside from the HP regeneration it provided, the fact that it could heal heavy injuries and replenish stamina and concentration made it extremely valuable. The potion would be particularly effective when players fought intense battles and when their stamina and concentration were nearly exhausted. The potion would also be very useful against bosses that increased stamina and concentration consumption. Although the life potion only recovered 10% of the player's stamina and concentration, it could save the player's life or help the team defeat a powerful boss if used during a critical moment. When the life potion had been introduced to the market in Shifeng's previous life, each bottle had easily sold for 5 gold. However, the life potion recipe was extremely rare, and even the various superpowers had only acquired a few copies after going to great lengths. Each copy of the recipe could easily sell for an exorbitant 8,000 gold if put up for auction. As for the master-ranked engineering design Baphomet had dropped, it was the hang glider design. Like its real-world counterpart, the hang glider allowed players to glide through the air. Moreover, the hang glider was much faster than any mount. The master-ranked hang glider provided a 350% movement speed increase. Since there weren't usually obstacles in the air, players could also traverse longer distances in a straight line. However, the hang glider had 3 flaws. The first was that players needed to take off from a sufficiently high location. The second was that the environment would affect the hang glider. If players tried to glide through a storm, the consequences would be severe. They might even be blown out of the sky and fall to their deaths. The third flaw was that hang gliders were consumables and could not be repaired. They would disappear once their durability had been exhausted. Meanwhile, even a common hang glider cost around 18 gold to produce. They weren't much cheaper than common mounts, which players could use indefinitely. However, to players who valued time and speed, these flaws did very little to stop them from using the hang gliders. In the past, many experts had opted to use hang gliders whenever they could to save on travel time. They paid no attention to the cost. As Shifeng gazed at the hang glider design, his eyes sparkled with joy. Since mounts weren't yet popular in God's domain, players' demand for hang gliders would be intense if he sold them. At this point, the various large guilds were starting to shift the focus of their development to neutral maps between kingdoms and empires, after all. In a situation where no one had obtained a town building order or town migration order, players were forced to walk to these neutral maps. In addition, neutral maps themselves were very large. Even with a mount, players would need a considerable amount of time to explore the map fully. However, players could save a lot of time if they had a hang glider. If the Candlelight trading firm introduced the hang glider to the market now, it would definitely be well received. In addition, since Candlelight would have the monopoly over the hang gliders, it would make a fortune off of the transportation tool. The extra funds would help Zero Wing City's development tremendously. Meanwhile, among the other 8 recipes and designs Baphomet had dropped, there was also an advanced hang glider design. Although the advanced hang glider was inferior to the master hang glider, it still increased players' movement speed by 300%. It seems I'll have to find some time to grind hang glider recipes, Shifeng thought to himself. Although the master hang glider was super rare, the advanced version wasn't. Level 70 plus Grand Lords and above all had a chance of dropping the recipe. The field bosses of a few particular maps even higher drop rates. In the past, the various large guilds had generally opted to grind those field bosses to obtain more advanced hang glider recipes. Zero Wing's main force was already considerably strong. With the help of his Bible of Darkness, they could definitely grind for more advanced hang glider recipes. After storing the master hang glider design, Shifeng shifted his sight to a tattered page in his bag. The words on the page had long since become indiscernible. However, the page still radiated a faint trace of divine might. Moreover, the surrounding power of darkness gathered around the page when he pulled it from his bag. When Shifeng inspected this page, he became indescribably excited. This was because this page was actually part of the Bible of Darkness. Despite repairing the Bible of Darkness's core, it wasn't complete. The book was still missing pages. The page before him was none other than one of those missing pages. System, you have discovered a page of the Bible of Darkness. Do you wish to spend 500 magic crystals to assimilate this page with the Bible of Darkness and repair it? Repair. Shifeng chose to repair the Bible of Darkness without hesitation. Chapter 1685, Dark Armament. Chapter 1685, Dark Armament. Chapter 1685, Dark Armament. When Shifeng agreed to repair the Bible of Darkness, the book flew out of his bag space and hovered before him. The book then opened to reveal the missing page's location. At the same time, the missing page transformed into a black mist that melded with the Bible of Darkness. 3 seconds later, the page had joined the book as seamlessly as if it had never left in the first place. After the Bible of Darkness had recovered one of its missing pages, the power of darkness that gathered around the book became denser, and now a black mist settled over the book. The Bible of Darkness has improved by so much. After repairing the Bible of Darkness, its appearance indicated that it had become far more powerful. Although the book's aura wasn't much stronger than before, its control of power of darkness had improved. In fact, the Bible of Darkness's control over the power of darkness had improved so much that Shifeng could feel the darkness world's suppression weaken slightly. Originally, this world had suppressed his basic attributes by 30%, but now, it had dropped to 25%. The suppression on his senses had also decreased from 50% to 40%. Unfortunately, his EXP gain was still reduced by 95%. Immediately, Shifeng inspected the repaired Bible of Darkness. Bible of Darkness, fragmented legendary item. The Bible of Darkness had been destroyed during the Great Destruction. The core magic array has since been repaired using the source of spacetime thus far. If one can gather the other fragments, they can restore the Bible's power, gaining dominance over all demonic creatures and become the Lord of Demons. Skill 1. Demon Summoning. Summons the demon gate with the power of darkness, calling forth a random demon that is no higher than 1 tier and 15 levels than the summoner. Maximum tier cannot exceed tier 5. Holder of the Bible of Darkness can command the summoned demon for up to 6 hours. Cooldown, 2 hours 30 minutes. Skill 2. Gate of Darkness, allows teleportation to the Dark Den. Can also be used in the Dark Den to teleport to the outside world. Can teleport a maximum of 30 people at a single time. Cooldown, 1 day. Skill 3. Light of Darkness, strengthen a player with the power of darkness, allowing said player to wield the power of darkness. Can strengthen up to a maximum of 1,500 people. Every player strengthened provides one source of darkness to the wielder of the Bible of Darkness. Skill 4. Power of Darkness. Fill your body with the power of darkness, increasing all attributes by 120%, decreasing cooldown of all skills by 30%, and increase damage by 50%. Duration will be equal to number of source of darkness *0. 5 seconds. Power of darkness cannot stack. Can only strengthen players up to a maximum of tier 5 classes. Cooldown, 5 hours. Skill 5. Demon Ruler. Passive effect, increases the attributes of demonic creatures under user's control by 35%. Forcibly decreases the attributes of all enemy demonic creatures within a 1,000-yard radius by 30%. Active effect. When activated, there is a 12% chance to control a demonic creature that is no higher than 2 tiers and 30 levels than the user for 2 hours. Can control up to Tier 5 creatures. Can control up to a maximum of 3 creatures at a time. Cooldown, 5 minutes. Skill 6. Dark Armament. By sacrificing sources of darkness, transform the Bible of Darkness into a weapon suitable for the user. Duration is equal to number of source of darkness * 3 seconds. During this period, the Bible of Darkness's other skills cannot be used. Cooldown, 6 hours. Dark Armament. The appearance of a new skill had surprised Shifeng. Is this what the missing page contained? He had only expected to find some minor improvements to the Bible of Darkness's skills after incorporating the missing page. He had never thought that the page would add a new skill. Weapons were the foundation of a player's combat power. Players could only wield high attack power with a powerful weapon. At the end of the day, berserk skills were unreliable. On the other hand, a powerful weapon could permanently increase a player's combat power. Although the Bible of Darkness's weapon wouldn't last forever, it could still last up to 75 minutes, which was much longer than any berserk skill. It was enough time for players to end a large-scale battle. After examining the Bible of Darkness for a few more minutes, Shifeng stored it and began to appraise the other items Baphomet had dropped. Of the remaining 34 items, there was 1 darkness stone and 6 darkness stone fragments. The rest of the items were weapons and equipment, the most valuable of which was a pair of epic ranked boots called the Trickster's Legs. When equipped, the Trickster's Legs would offer a significant boost to the wearer's movement speed and reaction speed. It was an excellent pair of boots that only level 50 players and above could equip. There were also 5 pieces of level 60 dark gold equipment, 12 pieces of level 60 fine gold equipment, and 9 pieces of level 60 secret silver equipment. Among the level 60 fine gold equipment, 2 pieces happened to be the hat and gloves for the Fantasy Demon set, which Shifeng still needed. He had also completed 2 Dark Devourer sets after killing Baphomet. Once Shifeng had organized the loot, he didn't bother to sit and rest. Instead, he drank a drop of life essence and continued towards the next map. After riding the demonic flame tiger for around 10 minutes through the canyon, Shifeng reached a new map. Unlike the barren Dark Sin Canyon he had previously occupied, a tranquil forest dominated this map. Visibility here was also much better than in the Dark Sin Canyon. Even without using his summoned demons, he could see up to 50 yards away. Why are the monsters here so low-leveled? When Shifeng had inspected his surroundings with the detection crystal ball, the highest level monsters he had found nearby were only level 60. These monsters were clearly lower leveled than in the Dark Sin Canyon. Did I take the wrong path? The Dark Sin Canyon only had 2 exits. One of them had been completely blocked off, and a guardian boss defended the other. Since he couldn't pass through the sealed exit, he had chosen to kill Baphomet, yet that path had led him to a lower-level map. Forget it. This will do. In any case, I am only trying to grind darkness stones. It'll be easier to kill level 60 Grand Lords. Although Shifeng hadn't expected to reach a lower-level map, he welcomed this outcome. It was undoubtedly easier to kill level 60 Grand Lords than it was to kill their level 80 cousins. Furthermore, he wasn't able to do much fighting since he was in a weakened state due to activating his twofold berserk during the fight with Baphomet. For a short period, he wouldn't be able to add adequate combat power to his team. Shifeng then proceeded to lead Anna towards one of the Grand Lords he had discovered with the detection crystal ball. With 3 level 80, tier 3 demons and 1 level 80 golden giant, whose strength rivaled a Grand Lord of the same level, defeating a level 60 Grand Lord would be a piece of cake. With Anna and the 3 heroic spirits' assistants, the fight against the Grand Lord ended quickly. Shifeng hadn't even needed to do anything throughout the fight. Time passed quickly, and before Shifeng had realized it, he had grinded in the tranquil forest for over a day and wiped out all of its Grand Lords. Now, he had 93 darkness stones and 847 darkness stone fragments. With the Philosopher's Stone's 100% synthesis success rate, he would have no problems collecting 100 darkness stones. The full day of grinding had also pushed Shifeng to 84% of level 65. If not for the reduced EXP gain, he would have long since reached level 66. Even so, his leveling speed was incredibly efficient. But compared to his leveling speed, the loot he had acquired from the bosses he had killed was truly amazing. Although he had not obtained any epic items, he had collected 17 pieces of level 50 dark gold equipment, 52 pieces of level 50 fine gold equipment, and 276 pieces of level 50 secret silver equipment. The number of weapons and equipment he amassed by himself in a single day could almost rival a first-rate guild's acquisition. Of course, a large part of the reason for his success was the help of Icarus's heart, the monstrous Anna, and the Bible of Darkness. Without them, he never would have collected so many top-tier weapons and equipment in the darkness world so easily. Now that I've collected the darkness stones I need, it's about time I return. Shifeng smiled at the darkness stones in his bag. With this, he had completed his quest to obtain the lost town. Following which, Shifeng took out a White River City return scroll and activated it. After 20 seconds, Shifeng transformed into a streak of white light and departed from the darkness world. Chapter 1686, Stoneclaw Mountains Sealed. Chapter 1686, Stoneclaw Mountains Sealed. Chapter 1686, Stoneclaw Mountains Sealed. Starmoon Kingdom, White River City. After Shifeng left the teleportation hall, he immediately noticed far fewer players on the street than before. Moreover, when players noticed the zero-wing emblem pinned on Shifeng's black cloak, they gave him unusual looks. When independent players on the streets had noticed Zero Wing's emblem previously, they had gazed at the player wearing it with envy and admiration, but now, they looked at Shifeng with sympathy in their eyes. Shifeng was confused. He had only been away from White River City for a few days, yet the city had changed so massively. What happened here? Shifeng began to pay closer attention to the players walking down the street. He soon discovered that independent players weren't the only ones behaving oddly. When players from small guilds noticed him, they revealed ridiculing expressions. This confused Shifeng even further. No matter what was said or done, Zero Wing was Starmoon Kingdom's publicly acknowledged #1 guild. Even if the Zero Wing's development had suffered lately due to the war with Heaven's Burial, the guild hadn't fallen so far that even small guilds member would look down on it. Shifeng had even dealt Heaven's Burial a severe blow recently. Now that Heaven's Burial had lost its income from ancient Rock City, the guild's development potential had plummeted. It could no longer compete with Zero Wing's growth. Look, that guy's wearing Zero Wing's bronze emblem. He should be one of Zero Wing's experts, yet he still has time to wander aimlessly. I bet he ran back here once he realized that victory isn't possible. Heaven's Burial's latest strategy is too ruthless. Zero Wing is almost guaranteed to lose Stone Forest Town, and all of the various large guilds are fending for themselves. Heaven's Burial even declared that any guild that offers Zero Wing assistances will join its hit list, and any of Zero Wing's members that withdraw will be spared its wrath. That's right. Who would have imagined that Heaven's Burial would close off the Stoneclaw Mountains map with such a powerful barrier? Not only has all communication been cut off, but they've also disabled return scrolls. Moreover, the barrier only has one exit. Based on what I've heard, a large army of evil demons and evil beasts guard that exit, and Heaven's Burial isn't letting any player leave the map, keeping players from notifying the kingdom's armies. Heaven's Burial isn't letting any player leave the map to notify the kingdom's armies. The Stoneclaw Mountains map has been locked down for nearly 7 hours now. With Heaven's Burial's strength, it should have already captured Stone Forest Town. I'm not sure. Based on the information Stone Forest Town's players are sharing via offline communication, the battle between Zero Wing and Heaven's Burial has become intense, with both sides constantly losing players. But Zero Wing's players haven't been able to break through to the barrier's exit. In contrast, more players from Heaven's Burial are gathering in the Stoneclaw Mountains by the minute. The same is true for the evil beasts and evil demons. Heaven's Burial is amazingly capable. With their almost complete control of all information relating to the siege, Zero Wing can't reach the kingdom's armies to ask for help. Meanwhile, trying to get into the barrier is a suicide mission. If Heaven's Burial wishes it, it could kill the players trapped inside as many times as it wants, and those players will have no hope of escape. Logging off inside the barrier will also incur a severe penalty. Besides, if Zero Wing's members log out of the game, Stone Forest Town will be as good as lost. As the players who rested in the bars and restaurants along the street watched Shifeng, they began to discuss the recent events in the Stoneclaw Mountains. They all admired Heaven's Burial's prowess. Although Zero Wing was impressively powerful, Heaven's Burial was a step ahead of its rival. The Stoneclaw Mountains have been sealed. Shifeng could not help his surprise. He had seen guilds seal off maps before, but those seals had only blocked communication and disabled return scrolls. Based on what he had just heard, the seal on the Stoneclaw Mountains even prevented players from leaving on foot. This was an extremely difficult feat. Not even he could accomplish the same effect. In the past, only the various superpowers had used such seals when targeting certain Apex experts or trying to capture enemy guild cities. Shifeng immediately turned back towards the teleportation hall and teleported to Starmoon City. He then hurried towards Stone Forest Town. Meanwhile, the normally blue sky over the Stoneclaw Mountains had dulled to a dismal grey. A barrier of evil energy had enveloped the entire map, and while inside this barrier, players' stamina and concentration would be sapped away, even if they did nothing but stand in place. Their minds also felt foggy due to the barrier's power. In contrast, the evil demons inside the barrier were in their element. Both their movement and intellect had improved, as had their basic attributes. Standing on one of Stone Forest Town's walls, Aqua Rose watched the swarm of monsters and players gather some distance away with a somber expression. Suddenly, a level 50 ranger clad in blue walked up to Aqua Rose and reported, "Vice Guild Leader Aqua, based on our scouts' observations, another player army has entered the barrier. By the looks of it, they seem to be from Blackwater. There are roughly 20,000 players, over 6,000 of which are level 49 or above. Moreover, they have brought 8 catapults with them. 6,000 experts and 8 catapults." Aqua Rose's expression darkened further after hearing this. Currently, Zero Wing only had around 100,000 members protecting Stone Forest Town, and a large majority of them were players she had gathered and led to the town to reinforce its defenses. Meanwhile, Heaven's Burial had gathered over 300,000 members before Stone Forest Town. Although only around 170,000 of them were elite members, and the rest were normal members, the normal members were not to be underestimated. Even the weakest among them was level 45. Furthermore, Heaven's Burial had the support of a large force of evil demons. Rough estimates counted over 100,000 of these monsters. Moreover, more monsters joined the force as time passed. Although most of the evil demons were relatively weak, with only level 45 elites, they continued to devour monsters around the Stoneclaw Mountains, growing stronger. In fact, Heaven's Burial had yet to besiege Stone Forest Town because it concentrated on accumulating more strength. During this period, Aqua Rose and Zero Wing's experts had made multiple attempts to assault the barrier's exit and send information out of the map to notify the kingdom's armies, hoping that the NPCs would show up to exterminate the evil demon army. However, the evil demons and Heaven's Burial's members guarding the exits had foiled every attempt. The evil demons guarding the exit were simply too powerful. There was even a mythic ranked evil demon among them. Even Fire Dance, who had the greatest chances of escaping the barrier, had been defeated and killed in just a few moves. She hadn't even had the power to resist the mythic ranked evil demon. Now that Blackwater had dispatched 6,000 experts and 8 catapults as reinforcements, Heaven's Burial's strength in this siege had increased further. Although Aqua Rose wanted nothing more than to charge out there and destroy the 8 catapults Blackwater had sent, the evil demon army would undoubtedly assault any force she led out of Stone Forest Town. By leaving the town, they'd simply nourish the evil demons, ultimately helping Heaven's Burial capture Stone Forest Town. Ha ha ha. Vice Guild Leader Aqua, I suggest that you give up this struggle. Stone Forest Town will be mine. In fact, I won't just settle for Stone Forest Town. I'll take Zero Wing City as well. Listen up, Zero Wing members. You do well to abandon any hope of winning this war and withdraw from your guild now. Staying will only spell your doom once my monster army charges into Stone Forest Town. We've already sealed off the Stoneclaw Mountains, so even in death, none of you will leave this place alive. You'll only die, again and again. So, withdraw from your guild while you still have the chance. Singular Burial announced with a voice amplification device as he watched Aqua Rose on the town's ramparts. You should also know that currently, Blackwater's army and another army of evil demons are on their way. Once they arrive, not even heaven will be able to save you. The players in Stone Forest Town fell silent after listening to Singular Burial's declaration with solemn expressions. Are we going to fall, just like this? Everything Singular Burial had said seemed true. All they could do now was wait for death to reach them. Suddenly, a figure appeared above the town before a deep voice echoed throughout the area, reaching Stone Forest Town and Heaven's Burial's army and ingraining its question into everyone's minds. Is that so? Chapter 1687, Strong Reversal. Chapter 1687, Strong Reversal. Chapter 1687, Strong Reversal. As the deep voice from above reached the players, everyone turned towards it. Black Flame. The Sword King. Everyone quickly discovered a cloaked man hovering in the air. The man carried two long swords at his waist and radiated a majestic aura. Upon recognizing this man's appearance, many players gasped in surprise. This man had been responsible for so many miracles already. From killing an enemy commander whilst surrounded by an army of thousands to deterring an army of tens of thousands single-handedly, this man had defied common sense. He had even slain one well-known expert after another and wounded multiple superpowers. Just recently, he had charged into ancient Rock City alone and destroyed two of the city's defensive magic arrays. To top it all off, he had left that city with his life. The man was definitely Starmoon Kingdom's #1 expert. Guild leader. The guild leader's back. He's really here. Many of Zero Wing's members on Stone Forest Town's walls were ecstatic when they saw Shifeng's figure in the distant sky, and the depressing atmosphere that had surrounded them lifted instantly as fighting spirit overwhelmed these players. As they gazed up at Shifeng, a hint of fanaticism even flashed in their eyes. The guild leader. Has he already completed his quest? Although Aqua Rose was similarly excited to see Shifeng, a seed of guilt sprouted in her heart. Shifeng had entrusted her with Zero Wing's management before he had left. Heaven's Burial had cornered the guild. Novelful. Guild leader, you're finally back. When Blackie, Fire Dance, Cola, Shadow Sword, Turtle Dove, and Zero Wing's other core members saw Shifeng, they seemed to have grown an extra backbone as they brimmed with confidence. Is Black Flame finally getting involved? Notify the higher-ups immediately. Tell them that Black Flame has arrived. The various superpowers spies stationed in Stone Forest Town exploded into action when they saw Shifeng above the town. Some of these spied immediately logged out of the game to report the situation to their superiors. Although logging off would incur penalties, this information was worth the price. After all, Shifeng's appearance alone had changed the situation. Zero Wing's members had already lost their fighting spirit after seeing the countless enemies around them. However, every one of these players reacted as if they were on some kind of high when they saw their guild leader, madness burning in their eyes. Very quickly, the major powers who watched this war received news of Shifeng's arrival in Stone Forest Town. So, Black Flame has finally made an appearance. And here I thought that he had given up on Stone Forest Town. It seems he still intends to fight this out until the very end. When Galaxy Past, who rested the Star Alliance's residence in Starmoon City, received the latest report from his subordinate, he could not help but shake his head and sigh. Heaven's Burial had thrown everything it had into this last assault. The guild had clearly stopped holding back. Even if Stone Forest Town's defenses were very powerful, the evil demon army was no laughing matter. Unlike evil beasts, evil demons were intelligent. They also had faster reaction speeds. They wouldn't succumb to the town's static defenses as easily as the evil beasts. Moreover, based on the information they had collected thus far, Any player killed an evil demon killed inside the barrier would become a sacrifice, turning into a new evil demon for Heaven's Burial very quickly. Just thinking about it made Galaxy Past shudder with fear. One could not forget the reinforcements Blackwater had sent, either. 8 catapults could inflict devastating damage to Stone Forest Town. Not only did they deal high damage, but they also had an extremely long attack range. Even Zero Wing's movement-type defensive magic array would only last a few hits from these weapons of war. Meanwhile, in a high-class restaurant in the Black Dragon Empire. Interesting. Black Flame really is a suicidal bastard. Nine Dragons Emperor's lips curled into a smile when he saw the video his subordinate had sent him. Zero Wing is truly finished now. I can't wait to see what Phoenix Rain plans to use to compete against me for Thunder Island in the next contest. In contrast to Nine Dragons Emperor's reaction, when Phoenix Rain read the latest report on the war between Heaven's Burial and Zero Wing from her position on Thunder Island, her expression darkened. Why is he such a fool? Phoenix Rain was at a loss for words. Heaven's Burial had obviously sealed Stone Forest Town to massacre Zero Wing's members. It was bad enough that Zero Wing had sent most of its main force members and expert players to the town to defend it, but now, even Shifeng, Zero Wing's guild leader, had fallen into this trap. The wisest decision would be to abandon Stone Forest Town and conserve as much of the guild's strength as possible to protect Zero Wing City. The city had already become the guild's core, but if its guild leader were killed while protecting Stone Forest Town, it would deal a massive mental blow to the guild. With both its military prowess and morale wounded, how was Zero Wing supposed to defend Zero Wing City later? Novel full. Standing amidst Heaven's Burial's army, which waited outside of Stone Forest Town, Singular Burial had his sight locked onto Shifeng, glaring at the man with a chilling gaze. Due to Black Flame, the foundation he had built for the future Heaven's Burial Empire had been utterly destroyed. If Black Flame hadn't destroyed ancient Rock City's defensive magic arrays, the various superpowers wouldn't have sieged the city, forcing him to sacrifice his city to the evil god's branch temple. However, it was his turn to share the feeling of destruction with Zero Wing. Black Flame, your words sure are bold. What can you possibly do by yourself? You dared to destroy my city's defensive magic arrays, and today, I will take Stone Forest Town from you as compensation. Singular Burial sneered at Shifeng. As soon as Singular Burial finished speaking, the evil demon army behind Heaven's Burial's army loosed an earth-shattering roar. The roars of over 100,000 evil demons echoed throughout the Stoneclaw Mountains, and the pressure the monsters released made everyone in Stone Forest Town shudder. Some players' legs even lost their strength. The players in Stone Forest Town were reminded of the evil demon army's strength once more. If the pressure the evil demon army radiated were already so powerful, the consequences would be unimaginable if the monster army took action. Although Shifeng was powerful, what could one person possibly do against so many formidable monsters? There were also Heaven's Burial's players to contend with. In the end, Shifeng had only come to die alongside Zero Wing's members by coming to Stone Forest Town. Since you people from Heaven's Burial like Stone Forest Town so much, then you can stay here forever. Shifeng immediately retrieved a pitch-black energy bead from his bag. The instant he took out this bead, Heaven's Burial's members below him felt their souls shudder. This bead's power had even affected their consciousness. This energy bead was none other than the destruction crystal Shifeng had obtained from recasting the disintegration armor. Before anyone could react, Shifeng loosened his grip on the destruction crystal. The pitch-black energy bead then landed among Heaven's Burial's army. Boom! The moment the destruction crystal touched the ground, it exploded with a silver radiance. Instantly, the ground beneath the destruction crystal sank as the power of destruction spread across the land. Neither living beings nor inanimate objects were spared. Anything and anyone the power of destruction came in contact with vanished, leaving nothing behind. Not even the weapons and equipment players had dropped as they had died had survived the blast. Everything had happened so quickly that before Heaven's Burial's members could even react, an empty plot of land had been created amidst their massive army. For a time, silence descended on Heaven's Burial's forces as if time itself had frozen. Zero Wing's members, who stood on Stone Forest Town's walls, were just as stupefied by the scene that had just occurred. They hadn't expected Shifeng to make such a sudden move, not even giving Heaven's Burial's members a second to react. And the results of his attack were even so horrific. Chapter 1688, Strength of One Person. Chapter 1688, Strength of One Person. Chapter 1688, Strength of One Person. The Destruction Crystal had a 1,000-yard radius. The AoE could rival a Tier 5 large-scale destruction spell. However, unlike Tier 5 large-scale destruction spells, the Destruction Crystal destroyed everything it touched on a fundamental level. It did not rely on great power to destroy its targets, and even a small fraction of the power of destruction would destroy any player's body it encountered. It would even damage their immortal souls and corrode them to a certain extent. Unfortunately, the power of destruction would weaken at the edges as it spread. Most of the players 500 yards or more from the explosion's epicenter were still alive, some of them were even still standing. Only, they had all been contaminated to varying degrees from their contact with the power of destruction. This contamination had significantly decreased their basic attributes, and their HPs slowly depleted over time. As for their stamina and concentration, they steadily lost both. Although these players were technically still alive, they could no longer add to the force's combat power. In addition, every player within the radius had lost a drastic amount of their weapons and equipment's durability. All mysterious iron weapons and equipment had turned into dust the moment the power of destruction had touched it, regardless of how little or how much power of destruction they had come into contact with. Not even secret silver equipment would survive within 300 yards of the epicenter. Only fine gold equipment had any hope of surviving the contamination within this range. Only dark gold equipment or better would have survived the contamination within 100 yards of the epicenter. Even so, dark gold weapons and equipment within this radius had still lost over 1/3 of their durability. All of this had happened in a mere instant, and Heaven's Burial hadn't had any time to react. The sudden development hadn't only stunned Heaven's Burial's members, but players within Stone Forest Town also gaped at the result. Heaven's Burial's members were all level 45 and above. If they died and lost a level, they'd have a challenging time recovering their losses. However, players that had been caught in the blast hadn't only lost levels, but their equipment and weapons had been destroyed as well. This loss was far more severe than losing a single level. When Heaven's Burial's surviving members saw their weapons and equipment, they nearly fainted. Zero Wing is really doomed now. The spectating players in Stone Forest Town could not help but gasp. Shifeng's attack had certainly been extraordinary. With just one attack, he had dealt a heavy blow to Heaven's Burial, killing over 5,000 players and 3,000 evil demons. However, the fact remained that Zero Wing had no escape. Shifeng had only dumped oil on the raging flame of Heaven's Burial's hatred. Singular Burial, who stood among his army, glared at Shifeng, radiating killing intent. Even the temperature of the air around him had fallen by a few degrees. Black Flame. You asked for this. Singular Burial then commanded, activate the magic gnome cannons and shoot him out of the sky. Guild leader, are we really going to waste the cannons on him? Weren't we saving them to deal with Stone Forest Town's defensive magic array? Daybreak Fog jumped in, trying to dissuade Singular Burial after hearing his latest order. The magic gnome cannons were war weapons they had acquired after capturing ancient Rock City. Each of the cannon's shots could rival a Tier 3 large-scale destruction spell. It also dealt increased damage to defensive magic arrays and fortifications. It was a specialized weapon for siege warfare. However, the magic gnome cannons had limited ammunition, and Heaven's Burial had spent most of that ammunition while defending ancient Rock City. Now, they could only fire 12 rounds. Using that ammo on a single target, a player at that, was unwise. He is the one asking for it. Singular Burial growled madly, adamant that his command be carried out. Hearing Singular Burial's decisive tone, his guild member realized how furious the man was. The players manning the magic gnome cannons at the rear of Heaven's Burial's forces then aimed the weapons at Shifeng and fired. Boom! As the first cannon went off, A beam of dark blue light flew towards Shifeng, reaching its target in the blink of an eye. The energy beam contained so much power that even the space around it trembled. Crap. Singular Burial has lost his mind. He's actually using a war weapon to deal with a single player. Black Flame is dead for sure this time. That attack should have a 100-yard radius at the very minimum. No player can dodge that. The players watching from within Stone Forest Town were stupefied. War weapons generally had very long cooldowns, and the stronger the weapon was, the longer its cooldown would be. Hence, for efficiency, such weapons were generally used against dense crowds. It was a luxury to fire a war weapon at a single player. Just as the dark blue energy beam was about to smash into Shifeng, he activated Heavenly Dragon's power, increasing his HP by 500%, defense by 300%, strength by 150%, and agility by 60%. The intensity of his aura instantly skyrocketed, and it felt as if some primordial beast had just woken from a long sleep. Following which, Shifeng swung Killing Ray towards the incoming energy beam. Lightning Edge. Countless arcs of lightning flew from Shifeng's blade, forming a long, blue river that collided with the incoming energy beam. When the attacks collided, a brilliant radiance illuminated the battlefield. While everyone was momentarily blinded, a strong gust of wind pushed at them. Heaven's Burial's members standing near the collision were even forced to retreat several yards. After the two attacks fought for supremacy, the magic gnome cannon's energy beam devoured the river of lightning and proceeded to devour Shifeng. However, before Singular Burial could cry out in joyous victory, the smoke in the sky scattered and revealed Shifeng's still living figure. Shifeng was actually alive and still hovering in the air. In fact, he was nowhere near dead, he had only lost around 1/8 of his HP. He didn't die. How is that possible? Seeing Shifeng alive and kicking, the players watching from Stone Forest Town were dumbfounded. The eyes of Heaven's Burial's members nearly fell from their sockets when they saw the result of the attacks. How is this possible? Did he use some invulnerability skill? No, that can't be right, he has lost HP. But, if he didn't use an invulnerability skill, why did he only lose a little HP? For a moment, Singular Burial failed to comprehend what had just happened. He had considered the possibility that Shifeng may have a few methods to dodge the magic gnome cannon's attack. For example, the enemy swordsman could use an invulnerability skill or a Tier 3 defensive magic scroll to block the energy beam. He could also use the teleportation skill he had used many times in the past. However, of all the possibilities he had considered, none of them included Shifeng receiving the attack head-on. Continue firing. I refuse to believe he can endure. Singular Burial gave out the command to attack again, gritting his teeth. The magic gnome cannon had a 45-second cooldown, but Heaven's Burial had secured 3 magic gnome cannons from ancient Rock City. They still had 2 more they could rely on. Suddenly, another magic gnome cannon fired at Shifeng. Boom. Once more, a dark blue energy beam threatened to devour the hovering swordsman. This time, however, Shifeng did not use an AoE skill. Instead, he activated Flame Burst and used Killing Ray to block the energy beam. Once the energy beam had passed, Shifeng had slid back nearly 20 yards before he stabilized his position in the air. He also lost close to 1/6 of his maximum HP. Although he had fared worse than before, he was still alive and well. Attack. Continue attacking him. Singular Burial commanded, madness flashing in his eyes. The third magic gnome cannon fired immediately. Seeing another dark blue energy beam approach, Shifeng moved forward to meet it. Boom. As the smoke scattered, Shifeng remained in the air. He also still had more than 50% of his HP. Is that it? Shifeng asked as he leisurely dusted himself off. Glancing at Singular Burial, he chuckled and wondered aloud, "Are you telling me that this is all Heaven's Burial is capable of?" Silence fell on the battlefield as everyone watched Shifeng. Chapter 1689, Summoning a High Demon. Chapter 1689, Summoning a High Demon. Chapter 1689, Summoning a High Demon. How is this possible? Horror filled Singular Burial's eyes as he stared at Shifeng. He was very familiar with the magic gnome cannon's power, and he simply couldn't accept the fact that Shifeng had just taken 3 hits head-on and survived, much less held on to more than 50% of his HP. Even a Tier 2 metric tons would be vaporized, even after activating a life-saving skill, if they were struck by the magic gnome cannons. Yet, 3 of these powerful weapons attacks had failed to kill Shifeng. Is he some NPC or a humanoid monster? As Heaven's Burial's members looked up at Shifeng's proud, hovering figure, they were overwhelmed with horror and confusion. The strength Shifeng had just displayed was beyond players' abilities. This kind of power lingered in the realms of NPCs and monsters. When they thought about how they were supposed to fight such a monster, a chill crawled down their spines. If not even attacks that could rival Tier 3 large-scale destruction spells could deal significant damage to this swordsman, their attacks would be raindrops pelting his skin. Shifeng's combat standard was also exceedingly high. He wouldn't simply let them attack him like a common monster. If Shifeng charged into their army's ranks, the consequences would be unimaginable. Meanwhile, Stone Forest Town had become eerily silent after its players had witnessed the failed bombardment. So, this is the strength of Star Moon Kingdom's #1 expert. Although they knew that Shifeng was Star Moon Kingdom's publicly acknowledged #1 expert and that they were definitely no match for the Sword King, they had never dreamed that the man was this powerful. Being able to face weapons of war was a feat beyond players. Shifeng, without a doubt, was a bona fide monster. After witnessing this, the experts that had planned to challenge Shifeng and claim the title as Star Moon Kingdom's #1 expert, smiled in self-ridicule as they realized how comical their idea was. When Shifeng swept his gaze over Heaven's Burial's members below him, noticing their shocked expressions, his lips curled into a smile. Although sufficient strength was important in a guild war, a guild's morale was just as important. Players plagued by fear and worry wouldn't be able to fight to their full potential, and they'd make senseless mistakes. In contrast, if a guild's morale were high, its players would exhibit their full potential and perform better than normal. Trying to defeat an enemy while outnumbered wouldn't be entirely impossible. It seems that it was quite effective. Shifeng was very satisfied with his performance when he saw his enemies' overwhelmed expressions. While war weapons were indeed powerful, they were not unstoppable. Current players were simply too weak to take a hit from such weapons. Tier 3 large-scale destruction spells could certainly kill Tier 1 players, and not even Tier 2 players could normally survive such an attack. But what about Tier 3 and Tier 4 players? Once players reached Tier 3 large-scale destruction spells would only pose a threat, they wouldn't be unstoppable. After reaching Tier 4, players could even shatter a Tier 3 large-scale destruction spell. The reason Shifeng had dared to face the magic gnome cannon's attacks was due to his sufficiently high basic attributes and magic resistance. In addition, Heavenly Dragon's power increased his HP and defense by a significant margin. Most importantly, the disintegration armor's disintegration field could weaken skills and spells above Tier 2 by 60%. With all of these factors in play, he had chosen to receive the magic gnome cannon's energy beams head-on. Even so, he had still received a considerable amount of damage. However, if anyone else stood in his place, even with the help of the disintegration field, they'd either die or barely cling to life after a single attack. Although it appeared that he had only lost a small fraction of his HP, he had boosted his HP by 500% with one of his skills. Losing 1/6 of that HP was the equivalent to losing as much HP as he normally possessed. Moreover, receiving Tier 3 large-scale destruction spells head-on was a considerable burden on his equipment's durability. After 3 shots from the gnome cannons, his dark gold equipment's durability had fallen by nearly 1/4. If he received another dozen or so energy beams, all of his items would be destroyed, aside from his epic and fragmented legendary items. Seeing that Heaven's Burial's members panic, Shifeng promptly took the Tier 4 large-scale destruction magic scroll, which he had obtained after killing Baphomet, from his bag and activated it. Tier 4 spell, Dark Prison. Before Heaven's Burial's members could recover from their shock, a pitch-black ball appeared among the army. This pitch-black ball then expanded, quickly and silently enveloping a 500-yard radius. After remaining motionless for 2 seconds, the black ball burst, and a towering pillar of black light took its place. Instantly, all players who had failed to activate invulnerability skills died as they were caught within the light pillar. With this single attack, Heaven's Burial had lost an additional 6,000 plus members. Zero Wing, heed my command. Leave town and wipe out Heaven's Burial. Leave none of them alive. Bring the miniature ballistas and movement-type defensive magic array. Shi Feng shouted from his position in the air, his voice echoing across the battlefield. Upon hearing Shi Feng's command, Zero Wing's members' blood boiled as they roared with power. Under Aqua Rose and the other core members' command, everyone charged out of Stone Forest Town and dashed toward Heaven's Burial's 300,000-strong army. Hundreds of miniature ballistas and the movement-type defensive magic array followed closely behind. Damn it! How does Black Flame wield this kind of power? We can't win. Black Flame is a monster. I don't want to die. Compared to the physical destruction from Shi Feng's Tier 4 large-scale destruction magic scroll, the mental blow had been crippling. After seeing so many more of their companions instantly die, many of Heaven's Burial members turned and fled. Shi Feng had just used 2 large-scale destruction spells with such horrific power in a row. Who knew if he had more in store? Moreover, seeing how miserably their guild members had died had truly terrified them. This was especially true for the first group of players that had fallen to the destruction crystal. The attack had even obliterated most of those players' equipment. Shi Feng was basically immortal in their eyes. They couldn't bear to remain in this nightmare for a moment longer. Black Flame. Singular Burial frowned as he watched his army descend into chaos. Hurriedly, he commanded through the team chat, "Send in the evil demon army, now." Guild leader, are we really going to attack now? Blackwater's reinforcements haven't arrived yet. If we start now, I'm afraid that Daybreak Fog knew the kind of strength the evil demon army possessed. The majority were newly spawned evil demons. While these evil demons might be able to slaughter players, they would be mostly useless against the NPC soldiers in Stone Forest Town. They'd struggle to break through the town's defenses with these monsters. It doesn't matter. Singular Burial understood the potential consequences of attack too early as well. However, if they did nothing to recover from the mental blow Zero Wing had just dealt, facing the enemy guild would become even more difficult. However, very quickly, Singular Burial revealed a sneer as he said, "Zero Wing's members have taken the initiative to leave the town. This is the perfect opportunity to annihilate them. Notify Flame Blood to send in the mythic ranked evil demons and beast." Understood. Daybreak Fog recognized Singular Burial's reasoning. Immediately, she contacted Flame Blood and ordered him to take action. Immediately, a commotion occurred within the nearby forest. Within seconds, 1 level 80 mythic ranked evil demon and 4 level 80 mythic ranked evil beasts emerged. As they appeared, their deafening roars reached the battlefield. The pressure they exuded even stole the breath from the nearby Heaven's Burial members. The sudden inclusion of these mythic-ranked evil beasts and demon discouraged Zero Wing's members. In contrast, some of Heaven's Burial's morale returned. Black Flame, it's time to pay for your arrogance. Singular Burial smirked when he saw that Zero Wing's army had already moved a considerable distance away from Stone Forest Town. With a wave of his hand, he commanded the mythic-ranked evil beasts and evil demon to charge into Zero Wing's ranks. Shi Feng then returned to the ground. Once he landed, he pulled a crystal ball with a golden glow from his bag. "Come, Baphomet!" Shi Feng shouted. At the same time, 5,000 magic crystals vanished from his bag space. Chapter 1690 Mythic Showdown. Chapter 1690 Mythic Showdown. Chapter 1690 Mythic Showdown. After sacrificing 5,000 magic crystals to activate the High Demon's soul, a gigantic magic array formed before Shi Feng. However, unlike other magic arrays, this one did not absorb mana from its environment. Rather, power of darkness gushed from the array and flooded its surroundings as if it were a portal to the darkness world. The dense power of darkness quickly formed a layer of dark mist around the magic array. It was so dense that it even dispersed the ambient evil energy. After 3 seconds of this process, The black mist concentrated into a colossal form. The moment the mist began to coalesce into this gigantic form, it radiated an overwhelming aura that spread into its surroundings. Moreover, as the body took shape, its aura became stronger. After another 5 seconds, Baphomet's 30-meter-tall frame arrived on the battlefield. However, unlike the Baphomet Shifeng had killed, this Baphomet was multitudes stronger. The previous Baphomet had merely been a level 73 Grand Lord, but the monster before Shifeng was level 80 mythic ranked High Demon. Moreover, due to the Bible of Darkness's Demon Ruler skill, Baphomet's basic attributes increased by another 35%. Baphomet, High Demon, Mythic. Level 80. HP 324 000 324 000. When the evil demon army was within 100 yards of Zero Wing's army, Baphomet stopped the ground lightly and disappeared. The High Demon instantly reappeared before the evil demons before swiping one of its clawed hands at the monster army. Boom! Suddenly, all evil demons within 20 yards of Baphomet flew backward. All elite and special elite ranked evil demons within Baphomet's attack range were instantly obliterated. Even the chieftain-ranked evil demons clung onto life with a small strand of HP. So strong. Zero Wing's members, who were charging into battle, could not help but gasp when they saw this. It was obvious that the swipe had been one of Baphomet's normal attacks. The High Demon hadn't used an AoE skill, yet it had instantly destroyed several dozen evil demons. The resulting impact had even flattened the previously uneven ground before the High Demon. Naturally, Baphomet didn't give its enemies the time to react as it swung its other clawed hand. Boom! Once more, dozens of evil demons died. Several Lord-ranked evil demons flew through the air as they sustained heavy injuries. For a time, Baphomet continued on an unstoppable rampage. The High Demon massacred the evil demons as if it were squashing on ants. Although the nearby evil demons had tried to retaliate, Baphomet had barely taken damage. The chieftain-ranked evil demons only dealt around -300 damage to the High Demon, whereas the Lord-ranked evil demons dealt around -1000 damage. These attacks weren't even a scratch to Baphomet. With its battle recovery, Baphomet regained 3,240,000 HP every 5 seconds. Furthermore, the evil demons didn't have long-ranged attacks. At most, they could launch a few mid-ranged attacks. Although Baphomet was massive, only 200 or so evil demons could attack it at one time. Even if Baphomet stood there and did nothing, the evil demons couldn't kill it. In the few seconds since Baphomet had joined the battlefield, the High Demon had killed hundreds of evil demons. Among them, over 24 had been chieftains, and 1 had been a lord. Although the loss was insignificant compared to Heaven's Burial's 100,000-strong force of evil demons, Singular Burial's expression twisted as he watched the High Demon's slaughter. He had never expected Zero Wing to have a trump card like this. He had assumed that Zero Wing would summon divine dragons as it had during their previous war. If that were the case, he intended to sneak the mythic-ranked evil demons past Zero Wing's defenses to target the magic array that summoned the dragons directly. However, it was a different story if Shifeng summoned a mythic monster with an item. Dealing with Baphomet wouldn't be easy. Send 2 mythic evil beasts to hold that demon back. The mythic evil demon will go after Black Flame. I want to see how Zero Wing intends to defeat us. Singular Burial commanded. Evil demons were best against players. Although Shifeng was not an easy target, he was a small pest, slightly larger than his companions, before a mythic-ranked evil demon. 2 of the 4 mythic-ranked evil beasts turned toward Baphomet, whereas the mythic-ranked evil demon charged at Shifeng. However, before the evil demon could reach Shifeng, a gigantic figure intercepted it. This figure belonged to none other than Baphomet. Baphomet was 30 meters tall, and the mythic-ranked evil demon was only 5 meters tall. The High Demon loomed over the evil demon like a building. Do you think you can stop it? Singular Burial sneered. A mythic-ranked evil demon's combat standards were even superior to ordinary experts, and its strength was higher than a mythic-ranked evil beast's. Its only weakness was its low, 150 million HP. Against players, however, This much HP was more than enough. Without hesitation, the mythic-ranked evil demon brandished one of its claws at Baphomet. As its claw moved, grey mist rapidly enveloped it. Space tore as the claws passed. Tier 3 skill, Dark Annihilation Claw. Although the attack was only a Tier 3 skill, the evil demon's overwhelming strength and speed improved it. Seeing the approaching attack, Baphomet swung one of its own clawed hands to meet the attack, rather than try to dodge. Boom! When the two claws collided, space around them shattered. The ground below the collision sank, while nearby evil demons were thrown through the air. Evil demons below chieftain rank and within 20 yards of the impact died instantly from the resulting shockwaves. After the two demons pushed against each other for a few seconds, the Dark Annihilation Claw's effects vanished, and the mythic-ranked evil demon was forced back by 5 steps before it stabilized itself. The difference between the two monsters' strength was obvious at a glance. The Heaven's Burial members that had brimmed with fighting spirit were stupefied, especially Singular Burial. How is any of this possible? How can that thing stop the evil demon's Tier 3 skill with a normal attack? Singular Burial simply could not understand how a demon could possess such horrific strength that not even a mythic-ranked evil demon could compete with it. However, Singular Burial quickly recovered his senses. Baphomet was only one creature, and he had a total of 5 mythic monsters under his command. Even if Baphomet were more powerful, it couldn't stop 5 mythic monsters at once. As long as they killed Chiffon, Baphomet would vanish. Singular Burial immediately contacted Flame Blood, who controlled the mythic monsters in secret, and instructed him to send all 5 to kill Chiffon. He also told Flame Blood to keep the other evil demons away from Baphomet as much as possible, focusing on Zero Wing's members. As Singular Burial had expected, although Baphomet was powerful, it couldn't stop 5 mythic monsters of the same level. It took everything the High Demon had to pin down 1 evil demon and 2 evil beasts. However, Zero Wing's army had arrived on the battlefield, and the movement-type defensive magic array enveloped Chiffon in its protection. Meanwhile, several hundred ballistas launched their payload simultaneously. The scene of hundreds of exploding arrows flying towards their targets was spectacular. The explosion 7 halted the mythic-ranked evil beast's advance for a moment. The weaker evil demons began to die in droves. A single volley of arrows had claimed several hundred evil demons' lives. However, the evil demon army launched its own assault against the movement-type magic array. From time to time, the 2 mythic-ranked evil beasts, which had avoided Baphomet's care, snuck past the High Demon to land 1 or 2 attacks on the magic array. Heaven's Burial also continued to bombard the array with the magic gnome cannons. With so many attacks against it, cracks began to surface on the magic array's barrier. Fortunately, the array quickly repaired itself, and after this continued for several minutes, Zero Wing had no choice but to replenish the movement-type defensive magic array's energy reserves. It's still standing. Envy flashed in Singular Burial's gaze as he watched the movement-type defensive magic array. Although it wasn't as strong as the barrier around a city, it could be reactivated the moment after it shattered. So what if you can withstand the evil demon army for now? How many magic crystals can you afford to spend? Heaven's Burial, charge. Zero Wing won't last much longer, Singular Burial shouted. Heaven's Burial's members could also see that, although Black Flame's previous performance had been stunning, Zero Wing couldn't avoid annihilation. When Zero Wing's members heard Singular Burial's shout, their expressions darkened. The evil demon was already a formidable force. If Heaven's Burial's players joined the fray. Sure enough, I'm pushing my luck by relying on one Baphomet. The battle's current state didn't particularly surprise Chiffon. Fortunately, Zero Wing City had accumulated quite a number of magic crystals lately. Following which, he retrieved the High Demon's soul from his bag and sacrificed another 5,000 magic crystals to it. Another gigantic magic array joined the battlefield, and after a few seconds, a new Baphomet manifested within the movement-type defensive magic array. Black Flame can summon another one? This is some trick, right? As Heaven's Burial's members began their charge, they slid to a halt as they gaped at the new Baphomet in utter shock. Chapter 1691, Chaotic Battlefield. Chapter 1691, Chaotic Battlefield. Chapter 1691, Chaotic Battlefield. Baphomet's 30-meter-tall figure was eye-catching inside the movement-type defensive magic array. The players standing around it looked like ants, and the High Demon was difficult to miss. Both this new Baphomet's aura and basic attributes were identical to the first Baphomet Shifeng had summoned. He can actually summon two such powerful monsters. Singular Burial and Heaven's Burial's upper echelons looked on in abject horror. They had already witnessed Baphomet's power. Not only did the High Demon have more strength than both the mythic-ranked Evil Demon and the Evil Beasts, but it could also tank one mythic Evil Demon and two mythic Evil Beasts by itself. Even the other two mythic-ranked Evil Beasts struggled to find opportunities to sneak past the first Baphomet to attack Zero Wing. To put it simply, Baphomet's basic attributes and combat standard were already horrific. Yet, another monster of its caliber had joined the battle. This raised Zero Wing's combat potential to the next level. When the second Baphomet had manifested, some of Zero Wing's members, who had begun to despair, cheered. The two mythic-ranked evil beasts were the biggest problem they faced, but now that a second Baphomet had joined them, they wouldn't need to worry about any of the mythic monsters. With all 5 of Heaven's Burial's mythic monsters at bay, they could rely on their defensive magic array and miniature ballistas to give Heaven's Burial's demon army the fight of its lifetime. Novel full. Suddenly, the second Baphomet vanished and reappeared before one of the two unhindered mythic-ranked evil beasts. Baphomet then swung its clawed hand at the evil beasts. Boom! The impact forced the level 80 mythic evil beast to retreat several steps. Noticing the new, powerful foe, the other mythic evil beast turned and headbutted Baphomet. Rather than dodge the incoming attack, Baphomet stomped the ground and swung its other claw, easily stopping the evil beast's all-out attack. The resulting impact pushed the evil beast back by several steps. The difference in strength between both sides was obvious at a glance. For a time, the two Baphomets pinned down Heaven's Burial's 5 mythic monsters, giving the monsters no opportunity to attack the movement-type defensive magic array. As a result, Heaven's Burial's damage against the array drastically decreased. Even with the rest of the evil demon army attacking desperately, the depletion of the magic array's energy reserves slowed. Now, it would take far more time to drain the defensive magic array's energy. Furthermore, Zero Wing's members could replenish the reserves at any given moment. This allowed the miniature ballistas and ranged players in the defensive magic array to attack without restraint. Each volley from the miniature ballistas contained several hundred exploding arrows. Although a single volley was not enough to kill the chieftain rank and above evil demons, the weaker demons turned to ash instantly. Amazing. So, this is Zero Wing's foundation? Even if the guild didn't have those two mythic monsters, Heaven's Burial would still find its members difficult to annihilate. The spectating players inside Stone Forest Town were stunned by the spectacular sight of several hundred miniature ballistas launching simultaneous attacks. Meanwhile, Singular Burial, who commanded the battle from afar, glared at Shifeng. He felt as if someone thrust a blade into his heart with each exploding arrow volley from the miniature ballistas. He had sacrificed 400,000 players to obtain these evil demons, and to convince his players to offer a portion of their immortal souls willingly, Heaven's Burial had offered them significant compensation. Yet, in the few short minutes since the battle had begun, over 20,000 evil demons had fallen. In contrast, Zero Wing had yet to suffer a single casualty as the impenetrable defensive magic array protected its members. After a short moment, Zero Wing had regained the advantage. Guild leader, we are dealing too little damage to Zero Wing's defensive magic array. At this rate, Zero Wing will annihilate our forces before we can even deplete the magic array's energy reserves, Daybreak Fog said, frowning as she watched volley after volley of exploding arrows rain down on Heaven's Burial's armies. Aside from the two Baphomets, the several hundred miniature ballistas were plenty of trouble. Their combined attacks could rival a Tier 4 large-scale destruction spell in both power and range. Even though evil demons were stronger than players, they couldn't survive a bombardment of multiple Tier 4 large-scale destruction spells. Novelful, haven't Blackwater's reinforcements arrived yet? Singular Burial could practically feel his heart bleed. The losses the evil demon army was suffering were severe, but his player army's losses were worse. Players didn't have as much HP as the evil demons, and every attack from the two Baphomets and the miniature ballistas could one-hit his players. Thus far, Heaven's Burial had lost over 30,000 players. Many of them were the guild's elite members. Meanwhile, the Mythic Evil Demon and Mythic Evil Beast's performance wasn't nearly as powerful as he had expected. On the contrary, the two Baphomets had them thoroughly suppressed, and they steadily lost HP. Singular Burial regretted his decision to begin the battle against Zero Wing so soon. Had he known that Chiffon could summon two Baphomets, he definitely would have waited until Blackwater's reinforcements had arrived. With Blackwater's catapults, destroying Zero Wing's defensive magic array would be much easier. Once they depleted the magic crystals Zero Wing had on hand, the guild's members would be fish on a chopping board. They're almost here. They'll arrive in 6 or 7 minutes, Daybreak Fog reported after contacting one of Blackwater's representatives. 6 or 7 minutes. Singular Burial made some quick calculations in his head. At the rate the battle was developing, Heaven's Burial should have no problems lasting for another half an hour or so. All right, but tell them to hurry. Tell them that Zero Wing is much stronger than we had anticipated. Daybreak Fog immediately relayed Singular Burial's message to Blackwater's army. Zero Wing can actually dominate the evil demon army? It's no wonder why such an insignificant guild dares to provoke Blackwater. Falling Fire, who wore a set of crimson mage robes, was surprised after he learned of Heaven's Burial's current predicament. However, that was all he felt. He wasn't worried in the slightest that they would fail to capture Stone Forest Town. Singular Burial had stated that his forces could hold out for another 30 or so minutes, and his group would arrive in around 7. Meanwhile, standing at the forefront of Zero Wing's army, Chiffon spent another 5,000 magic crystals to summon a third Baphomet once the High Demon's soul's cooldown ended. The instant the third Baphomet manifested, the battlefield fell silent. It was as if time had frozen. Before Heaven's Burial's members could react to the new Baphomet, Chiffon had the freshly summoned High Demon charge into enemy ranks, executing one skill after another. A Tier 4 High Demon possessed many skills and spells, and all of them were capable of killing dozens, even hundreds, of players. Damn it! How is this possible? Shock and confusion overwhelmed Singular Burial as he stared at the third Baphomet. He could not figure out how Chiffon had summoned such powerful monsters, one after another. However, Singular Burial quickly calmed himself and pushed this thought out of his mind as he turned to Daybreak Fog and commanded, "Fog, contact Falling Fire and tell his group to hurry. Tell him to bring the 1 Mythic Evil Demons and the 2 Mythic Evil Beasts guarding the exit." Daybreak Fog knew how precarious their situation was now, as well. She notified Falling Fire, telling him to increase his force's speed and transfer more monsters to the battlefield. However, shortly after Daybreak Fog ended the call, Chiffon pulled a Summon Guard scroll from his bag and activated it. Suddenly, a lithe, captivating figure appeared before Chiffon. Naturally, this figure belonged to Anna. Following Anna's arrival, a level 80 Great Lord ranked Golden Giant and 10 level 80 Lord ranked Rock Guardians joined the battlefield. This instantly elevated Zero Wing's destructive power to a whole other level. Anna, in particular, performed as well as the Baphomets. She controlled numerous holy spears to attack the enemy players, each wave killing dozens or even over 100 players. Any Tier 1 player these spears struck died instantly. After summoning Anna, Chiffon had the 3 Baphomets use their strongest skill. Each of the Baphomets then summoned their crimson long swords enveloped in pitch-black fire. Not only did the crimson long swords significantly increase the Baphomet's attack range, but those who fell to these weapons would also find their souls burning in the soul fire. In 1 minute, Heaven's Burial's 300,000-strong player army was reduced to just 200,000. Meanwhile, there were less than 50,000 surviving evil demons. This instilled a deep fear in Heaven's Burial's members. Even Singular Burial began to panic. He contacted Falling Fire personally and demanded, "Falling Fire, where are you? We're almost there. We'll arrive in another 4 or 5 minutes," Falling Fire said. 4 or 5 minutes. That long? Singular Burial paled as he gazed at the scorched, corpse-laden battlefield before him. Chapter 1692 Army Shattered. Chapter 1692 Army Shattered. Chapter 1692 Army Shattered. Long. Falling Fire was confused by Singular Burial's comment. This was the time they had previously agreed upon. His arrival hadn't been delayed in the slightest. In fact, he had even increased his army's pace while disregarding their stamina consumption. Moreover, a battle of hundreds of thousands couldn't end in 4 or 5 minutes. These battles normally drug on for several hours before reaching a conclusion. The battle is intense. I can buy at most 5 more minutes. In any case, you need to hurry over here as soon as possible. Otherwise, the battle's outcome won't be certain, Singular Burial said, gritting his teeth. In reality, he wanted to tell the man that if his group didn't arrive in the next 5 minutes, their siege on Stone Forest Town would likely fail. Zero Wing is actually that strong? Singular Burial's response confused Falling Fire further. Although Heaven's Burial had incurred heavy losses while defending ancient Rock City, its remaining combat power could not be underestimated. Heaven's Burial also had command of over 100,000 evil demons. However, Falling Fire did not bother to ruminate over the matter as he nodded and said, "All right, I'll increase my force's speed to its maximum. We'll arrive in 4 minutes at most." 4 minutes. Singular Burial breathed a sigh of relief. If he organized his current forces, they should still have enough strength to defeat Zero Wing's army and capture Stone Forest Town. Singular Burial immediately disconnected the call and commanded his armies to retreat from the battlefield slowly. At the same time, he ordered some of his players to use magic arrays to buy time. He even used the 6 Tier 3 summoning scrolls and a large number of Tier 3 control magic scrolls Heaven's Burial had gone to great lengths to collect to stop the 3 Baphomet's rampant slaughter. Although Tier 3 control magic scrolls could not stop Tier 4 mythic monsters completely, Singular Burial could use them to limit the monster's mobility. As the Tier 3 control magic scrolls activated, one after another, magic arrays began to appear above and below the 3 high demons. Barriers, vines, and chains then emerged and restricted the Baphomet's strength and mobility. Black Flame, I'll admit that you are amazing to have forced me to use all of Heaven's Burial's trump cards, but in another 4 minutes, Zero Wing will meet its doom. Singular Burial shot Shafong a cold glare as he watched Zero Wing's army push forward. The strength Zero Wing had displayed in this battle had greatly exceeded his expectations. Had he known that Zero Wing could summon monsters of Baphomet's strength, he would have had Flame Blood mobilize every mythic monster under his command. If the remaining mythic monsters, which currently guarded the barrier's exit, were here, Heaven's Burial's armies wouldn't have been forced to retreat after suffering such severe losses. However, with things as they are now, he had no choice but to push his armies to resist. Now that Heaven's Burial had lost ancient Rock City, it must capture both Stone Forest Town and Zero Wing City if the guild wanted any hope of becoming a superpower in God's domain again. Otherwise, rising would become extremely difficult for Heaven's Burial. Although Blackwater hadn't dispatched a lot of players to help capture Stone Forest Town, many of them were experts. Blackwater's army was even armed with powerful weapons of war. As long as they destroyed Zero Wing's defensive magic array and regrouped with the remaining mythic monsters, they could wipe out Zero Wing's forces and capture Stone Forest Town. Meanwhile, the battle between Heaven's Burial and Zero Wing had thoroughly astounded the bystanders in Stone Forest Town. Strong. Too strong. This battle was no longer a simple guild war. It looked like a war between kingdoms. All sorts of mythic monsters had been dispatched to add to the army's combat power. Each side used Tier 3 and Tier 4 magic scrolls one after another. The experts that ordinary players like them normally looked up to were insignificant here. All of these players finally understood what a real guild war looked like. The guild wars they had witnessed previously were child's play compared to this. The war between Zero Wing and Heaven's Burial was no longer a simple competition between players. It had become a war in which both guilds used everything they had to finish each other off. Both guilds had staked their continued existence on this war. No one had expected the battle to reach these heights. Initially, everyone had assumed that Heaven's Burial's victory would be overwhelming due to the assistance of the evil demon army. However, not only had Zero Wing shattered both Heaven's Burial's players and its monster army, but it had also done so without losing a single player. This outcome was too frightening. The various large guild's members, who had planned to take advantage of Zero Wing's predicament to rob the guild, abandoned that plan out of fear. Fortunately, they had not taken action alongside Heaven's Burial. The consequences for doing so would have been unimaginably dire. Following which, due to Heaven's Burial's sudden retaliation, the battle fell into a stalemate. Guild leader, I just received a report that Blackwater's forces are nearly here. Moreover, the evil demon army guarding the barrier's exit are rushing towards our location, Aqua Rose hurriedly reported after hearing from one of the frontline scouts. Although the battle seemed like it was in Zero Wing's favor now, Aqua Rose knew that her guild couldn't continue at this pace much longer. Since the battle had begun, Zero Wing had spent over 80,000 magic crystals, and they had only started with a stock of 140,000. If Blackwater and the other evil demon army reinforced Heaven's Burial's forces, Zero Wing would be in danger. How long until they arrive? Shifeng asked. Blackwater's forces should arrive first. It'll take them roughly 4 or 5 minutes, Aqua Rose said. She then suggested, why don't we retreat to Stone Forest Town for now? If they retreated into Stone Forest Town, they could rely on the town's magic towers and defense turrets, which would give them an easier time against Heaven's Burial and Blackwater's combined army. The town's NPC soldiers could also participate in the fight. 4 or 5 minutes. Shifeng smiled. That was more than enough time for them to deal with Heaven's Burial. Immediately, he commanded, relay my commands. Have everyone attack with everything they've got. Hold nothing back. Previously, he had let Zero Wing attack to prevent Heaven's Burial and Blackwater's forces from combining. Naturally, he couldn't let Zero Wing's members hide behind Stone Forest Town's walls and focus on defense. Heaven's Burial had already used everything it had. Its players' morale was at an all-time low. This was the perfect opportunity to strike. Receiving Shifeng's command, Zero Wing's morale increased again. Zero Wing's members retrieved the precious treasures they had gained during their usual grinds or raids and used them against Heaven's Burial's members and the evil demons. Anna, who stood beside Shifeng, also activated her berserk skill, yin-yang power, the intensity of her aura soaring. For a moment, even the Zero Wing members near her felt stifled. Before anyone could react, Anna used her over-tier spell, Chains of Light. Chains of Light was already a Tier 3 spell, but due to yin-yang power, its power climbed to Tier 4. Suddenly, countless chains exploded from the ground and bound the mythic-ranked evil demon, drastically decreasing the evil demon's strength and mobility. Now, the evil demon could not even compare to an ordinary mythic monster. By the time Chains of Light had bound the mythic evil demon, Anna had finished casting the Tier 3 curse, Yin-Yang Judgment, which she had double-cast alongside Chains of Light. Anna then pointed her staff at the distant mythic evil demon, and 2 magic arrays, one glowing white and the other black, appeared in the sky above her target. Under her command, a holy spear dropped from above, sliding through the defenseless mythic evil demon's body. Boom! The world shook as a brilliant, black-white pillar devoured the evil demon. -7,451,374. In one hit, the mythic evil demon had lost a significant chunk of its HP and was covered in wounds and scorch marks. The evil demon looked miserable. At the same time, it fell into a heavily injured state, reducing its combat power and defense. Now, it was only as powerful as an ordinary Grand Lord. The scene stunned every player on the battlefield. With one strike, the mythic evil demon had lost more than 5% of its HP. At this point, Shifeng commanded the 2 Baphomets that fought near the mythic evil demon to use the Tier 4 skill, Dimensional Slash. 2 streaks of black light then cut down the heavily injured mythic evil demon. -9,613,474. -9,576,174. 2 frightening damages appeared above the mythic evil demon's head simultaneously, instantly lowering the evil demon's HP to under the 60% threshold. Damn it. Heal it, quickly. Do not let the mythic evil demon die. Singular Burial paled when he saw the mythic-ranked evil demon's HP plummet. He had never thought that Zero Wing would still have such a hand to play. Regardless of how much Singular Burial shouted at his team, the mythic evil demon's HP continued to decrease. Heavily injured, the evil demon even struggled to block Anna and the two Baphomet's attacks. Meanwhile, each Baphomet easily dealt over 1 million damage with their normal attacks, and if the high demons used Tier 3 or Tier 4 skills, they'd deal several millions of damage. Heaven's Burial's healers simply couldn't keep up. Nearly 30 seconds later, the mythic evil demon fell to Anna's holy light spear and dropped over a dozen items. When they saw the items, many players wanted to charge in and claim the loot for themselves, but with the two Baphomets standing guard, they quickly dismissed the thought. Using this opportunity, Chiffon quickly made his way to the loot and collected the dropped items without sparing them a second glance. Once the mythic evil demon was dead, the battle turned for the worst for Heaven's Burial. Without the mythic evil demon, Anna and the three Baphomets overwhelmed the remaining 4 mythic evil beasts. They also had cover fire from the miniature ballistas. Despite Singular Burial's command for the mythic evil beasts to retreat from the battlefield, one of the monsters fell less than a minute after the evil demon had died. Seeing this, Singular Burial was unable to utter a single word for some time. Falling Fire, where are your forces? Daybreak Fog asked desperately after contacting Falling Fire. We're almost there. We'll reach the battlefield in another minute, Falling Fire replied. 1 minute? That long? Daybreak Fog could not help but sigh when she heard Falling Fire's reply. Glancing around at the remaining mythic-ranked evil beasts, she shook her head and said, "Forget it. You are better off not coming. The battle here is over. We'll regroup at the barrier's exit." The battle's over. What is the meaning of this? Falling Fire demanded, shocked. We lost, Daybreak Fog answered after mustering her final strand of willpower. She then disconnected the call. You're tuning in to the Celestial War YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories,